Welcome back, everybody, to the M6 World Championship here in Malaysia. Currently, it is 5:56 GMT plus 8 here at IOI City Mall for those tuning in all across the world to watch our very first team to make sure that maybe after this best of 3, we'll qualify for the knockout stage. An exciting time to be alive. My name is Gideon Q here as your desk host, alongside Huskin as well as Ranmar as well at the table. We just experienced a pretty big upset coming in from Falcons. A single moment is all it takes. Could it be the same for Twisted Minds as well as RRQ Hoshi?
I feel like for this one, it's not going to be as clear-cut. There's a clear underdog going into this one. But at the same time, I feel like it's going to have to be multiple moments for real if they want to pull off that upset.
Multiple moments? I mean, let's break it down, right? Because we got to give a shout out to Kadia Gaming and Esports District, which unites gamers, communities, and fans all across genres and all walks of life. But the main opinion amongst the community, even in Kadia, is that MENA was supposed to be, especially after MSC 2024, one of the weaker regions. 6 months later, well, technically 5 at this point, 5 and a couple more days, MENA now looking to be the first team to qualify for the knockout rounds.
I mean, if you tell me that it's going to be Twisted Minds against RQ Hoshi for the first advancement series to knockouts a few months ago, I would either say that you are dreaming or I'm dreaming. But it's not a dream anymore, right? There actually is a chance for one of the biggest upsets in the Swiss stage.
Which begs the question, who is going to win? Who have you guys decided to support? Remember, from November the 18th all the way to December 29th, you can participate in the M6 Lucky Gift Draw. Join the draw for a chance to win a Claude new epic skin, the Challenger Flare. I mean, this model is perfectly showing you what you can earn in-game. The Beatrix new M4 epic painted skin, a Lightseeker, and don't miss the rare opportunity to get the Beatrix M4 exclusive and M4 Prime skins returning for a very limited amount of time. So those of you who've been DMing me, how am I going to get all the other skins? We got you covered. But Renmar, talk to me here. Because Twisted Minds, are you with the same opinion with MENA being one of the weaker regions now emerging to be maybe one of the strongest?
I mean, heading into this one, yeah, there were a lot of questions, especially in the Swiss stage, because when we saw GK Esports perform in the wild card, well, to be fair, we didn't get to see them perform to their peak. And there wasn't a lot of give in that one. So Twisted Minds, the expectations for them weren't quite there yet. So now that we've seen them go into the 2-0 bracket, now being one of the first teams to potentially get into the knockout stages, they beat the team that just beat SRG to make it here. Now you could definitely say that if not MENA, at least Twisted Minds. At least Twisted Minds is up there.
Yeah, I think they also are helping the whole region to re-establish sort of like the expectations for them. Like Renma mentioned, right? We looked at DK in the wild card and we were like, okay, Twisted Minds might not be that great, looking at the second seed itself, but right now, they are looking greater than ever, for sure.
I mean, that's the whole theme coming into M6. But for this particular match here, I hope you guys are ready. For Twisted Minds and as well as RRQ are going to be waiting for this best of 3 to start, especially that drafting phase. We're all excited for it. But the Sang Raja awaits. A trial by fire for Twisted Minds. Now, we were talking about Twisted Minds, but let's come over to the Kingdom's perspective. Sang Rajas, this team, and especially if we're pulling it back into history in M1, they were this close, one game away to be the first champions of the M Series. Unfortunately, taken away from them, it's been a very big struggle for RRQ to get back to that point, and this could be their very first step by qualifying with a perfect record.
Yeah, that's why it feels like the whole universe is just against what Twisted Minds would want to do here to make it into the knockout stage, because it feels like RRQ just goes against what the universe wants. They go against the trend. In the very first day, when everyone was getting surprised by the results, RRQ said, no, we're gonna make it into the next. Then they got past that challenge and made it to where they are now. So I feel like at this point, RRQ are a team just looking destiny in the eye and saying, no, you're mine.
I feel like, I mean, yes, there is a lot of history going behind it, but at the same time, I feel like the veterancy is coming into play. They've been known to be like, oh, RRQ was very, very brawly, but now they play a more macro-centric style. What do you think about this, Husky? Is that veterancy and, more importantly, the understanding of both styles helping them in the Swiss?
I think the understanding of both styles is definitely a lot more helpful because you need to be multifaceted, right? People say that this is a meta where it's the brawl meta, it's great for Indonesian teams. I agree, but you also have to understand how teams drag games out. Twisted Minds has shown that, how they beat Vamos and also Falcons yesterday. Both games went pretty late and Twisted Minds have very good control of it.
Yeah, we have to point out something real quick though. Twisted Minds is more experienced. This roster is more experienced than RRQ Hoshi in the M Series. They were here last year as Triple Esports. They went through MSC. This RRQ Hoshi roster, it's Skylar, that one veteran leading the charge for M Series first-timers.
That's an interesting point. Actually, you know what? If this is the opinion of the desk, what about the opinions coming in from RRQ's very own Kezcute? We quickly talked to him, the battle of masterminds, and he's mentioned that we know that Twisted Minds represented their country in IESF, even defeating Indonesia's representative in the group stage. We can definitely learn many insights from the games. Twisted Minds has the potential to go far in the tournament, especially with the help of 2 Filipino coaches. This BO3 will be the test for them, particularly against us, RRQ Hoshi. I believe we will be able to pick up on their drafting patterns.
I definitely agree, right? Like Bruno has been a big pick for Twisted Minds. As Sicilian, we've seen the power of that as well. Like we were alluding to it during the first day of Swiss stage, and when they finally show it on day 2, it was a big boon for them, the joy as well. So I think for RQ Hoshi, like we kind of established early on, it is a trial by fire. And when you call back to RQ's journey to get to the world stage, it wasn't easy, right? People were looking at the kingdom to win the local league, but like Mirko said, at the night of the revolution, the castle walls fell. But right now, the kingdom is looking solid, and if they can get past Twisted Minds and get into the knockout stage, I think hope will be restored for sure.
And I think you said the keyword there, solid. Definitely RRQ Hoshi have to be solid up against a team like Twisted Minds. When you get to know these players a little bit better, of course, their past where they were painted as the villains of MPL MENA, learning from that, getting humbled, eventually becoming champions, you have in here a team with a DNA of the moment they smell an advantage, they will jump. But that is something that can be countered by discipline, by being solid. If you don't give them that sense of an advantage, they won't be able to make a move.
Wait, hold on. Because we've seen 2 games coming in from Twisted Minds, and in both of those games, we've seen 2 different sides, where the early game was definitely a lot more favored in their first match, and then in the second match, it went the distance, and with no inhibitors, were able to turn things around. Husky, now that you've seen both facets of the Twisted Minds, is that going to be enough against the rock-solid RRQ?
It's going to be enough to put up an even fight, right? I wouldn't say that they will beat RQ 100% because that is too bold of a claim, but I think it can put them on an even pedestal against RRQ, even against Vamos. They were sort of put on the back foot because Vamos that time had a chip. They were playing extremely fast, but Twisted Minds outwitted them at the very end. And then against FCON, it was the exact same thing, right? They had literally nothing, and Twisted Minds still, with discipline, hung on.
Interesting. I mean, this is all about play styles, and I mean, now that we're coming into BO3s, I think things are going to get a little shaky here, because we've seen plenty of best of 1s, but coming into the best of 3s, we have opportunities to actually adapt. BO1s or BO3s, how teams approach the games differently. I'm going to start with you, Renmar, because again, you've seen these teams actually play. RQ looking a little bit more consistent, but in a best of 3, is the adaptation going to be key, or are we still looking for maybe those explosive picks?
Well, adaptation, I feel like, is going to be the approach here for RQ Hoshi, with Coach Kezcute mentioning that it is the drafting in his quote earlier that they're going to be putting a little bit more focus on with Coach Lyric and Coach Daliot and Twisted Minds. So I feel like that's going to be the mindset of RQ Hoshi, that, okay, let's not think of them as a team that we can just simply dominate in game. Let's go ahead, chase those power picks. We might need to get crafty. They have that Sicilian. That means that they have a team that are willing to try different things in the mid lane, either for early to mid-game burst or the mid to the late game holdout. So you're going to be drafting around that. RQ Hoshi has competed up against a wide array of playstyles in MPL Indonesia alone. As much as we want to say the Brawl playstyle, the Brawl meta, Brawl server, anything like that, it still varies from the different teams in MPLID. So if I'm RQ Hoshi, you're gonna go into this with the learnings from your region and think about it as, all right, we gotta beat them in the draft first.
Okay, with that being said, it's time for us to sell you on the teams that we're thinking are going to win this best of 3. For me personally, I saw RRQ play. I've seen Twisted Minds. I've done some research on them. For me, I'm going to go with RRQ Hoshi. I think this might be an interesting matchup, and I think that even in a best of 3, this should be a 2-0 victory. Wait,
There we go.
2-0 victory for RRQ Hoshi. I think, you know, not only the veterancy, we've seen them get really, really crafty as well, just like the Twisted Minds, if not so, more fluid in their plays. That's 2-0 for me for RRQ. What about you, Husky?
I'm guessing, no, not guessing, I am saying RQ is going to win. I know my predictions from the first day of Swiss stage until now hasn't been great. I've been losing 99% of my prediction, but this one, 2-0 RQ, for sure. I have a lot of respect. Hold on. I have a lot of respect for the players. I love Susujin, I love Skylar, but for me, I think Kesq has a special place in my heart, right? Because this guy transcends different game titles. He has such a robust experience and the way he looks at a game, especially in this genre. So yeah, Kesq's the man.
Well, now social media is about to call you guys the most professional, best talents, casters, analysts, because this is my prediction, but this is my pick.
Oh, that is interesting. 2-1 for Twisted Minds. Sell me on this. There's got to be an angle you're seeing that we're not seeing here.
Maybe, honestly, I feel like at this point I might just have been carried away by what we saw from Pocket versus SRG. That, hey, what if that's going to be one of these days where somehow, some way, it's actually Twisted who's going to qualify first, even though in my mind as an analyst is telling me to just predict RRQ Hoshi, please. Everything that we've seen from their drafts, how they play, what they've been doing in SPS before this. Again, of course, even though they were unfortunately eliminated from that one. But there's enough evidence in your mind, Renmar, that RRQ Hoshi will win this. But I don't know why my Twisted Mind just goes into that.
Yeah, I mean, the Twisted Minds have already got you speaking in third person at this point, right? That's how crazy the tournament has been going in the Swiss stage. You never know what's going to happen, and I get that momentum. What about you, Hazi? Is that going, if let's say, Twisted Minds take the, we predicted 2-0.
Yeah, we did.
If Twisted Minds take that very first game, is that going to shake you up? Is that going to break your stance?
No, I still would stick with RQ Hoshi. I still think that overall as a team, as much as, you know, in reality, Twisted Minds lineup has a lot more experience in the players, I still think RQ Hoshi has what it takes.
All right, with that being said, it's time to sell you on these teams even more. As the very first team lineup, it's going to be the Twisted Minds with Sano, Troll, Coffin, Hoda, but this time with Mike Sama coming in to play EXP instead of Sanji.
That is an interesting choice. I wonder though why. Mike Sama, of course, we haven't seen a lot of him even in MPL MENA. Yes, he has performed. It hasn't been that long since he played, but this might actually change the dynamic. I may or may not be regretting the prediction already, but okay, Mike Sama, he's definitely going to be the focus here. If he gets brought in by the coaching staff, that means he's ready to perform. So how do you help your EXP laner? Well, make sure you win the mid. I'm going to default to that. Troll and Coffin here have to get picks that are aggressive in the map and can rotate. This cannot be let's focus on the counter punching style and try to punish RQ Hoshi mindset for Twisted Minds. They have to be the ones to be proactive to try and match the aggression of RQ Hoshi.
I mean, if we're talking about matching the aggression, we don't know what version of RQ Hoshi we're going to get here today. The Kingdom continues to try and reign with Skylar, Edok, Rin, Sutsujin, and Dairin.
Especially when you are looking at Dairon in that XP lane, this matchup is going to really come down to how fast Twisted Minds can kind of accelerate the tempo, right? Because Dairon has shown in the 2 previous games that they played, he is willing to go fast. And even Skylar, you see when they are ahead, Skylar, Edok, they start making those plays. It's not just big plays, but also they add on some style and flair into their execution. So RQ Hoshi just play the way they do. They have that Frederick pocket pick for Susujin every single time if they need it. I mean, the Akai could somehow pop out as well if it comes down to the situation. So RQ Hoshi just play how they did in the previous 2 series, and I think they will be fine.
I feel like every single time we talk about RRQ Hoshi, there are moments in their games where they do feel like, oh yeah, let's go back a little brawly. But no, the macro, but the brawlness kind of seeps on through every once in a while. And I'm hoping today, maybe the Twisted Minds could, get under their skin to hopefully bring that out of them once more.
I think I realized something funny.
What?
As to why maybe the universe was trying to will me to predict Twisted Minds. You know Mike Sama's actual first name? It's Ren. Maybe that's what I was sensing. Maybe it's not even like an analytical thing. It's as simple as the universe like, yo, a dude with the same name as you is playing. Predict him. But again, I don't have a lot of info on Mike Sama. A majority of the time, it is Sanji playing for Twisted Minds. So maybe that's the approach for
maybe.
Twisted, where RQ Hoshi is expecting this specific playstyle from a specific style of EXP laner. Suddenly, RQ Hoshi's like, wait, who's that guy? How does he play like? Right? That could be a factor.
I'm also thinking maybe there's the possibility of it, turning it around, right? If we're talking about switching out a player, is there a macro influence on it, or is it a micro influence? And if it's micro, is it a damaged EXP laner?
It could be. I mean, damaged EXP laners, we still hasn't been seen much. I mean, we saw that early on by from Mayhem Evolve that Makino, it didn't really pan out too well, right? The Paquito, there were some merits to it, but it just doesn't fit into what we've seen so far. There are some teams, even in MPL Malaysia, that has done these kind of switcheroo, Hold Up, for a good example. They not only switch out one player, they switch out an entire squad. Vamos has done it with Sapat and Smooth, so in this case, with how tough XP lane already is, maybe Mike Sama could be the solution.
Mike Sama could be the solution, but at the same time, it could just be a curse as well. I mean, keep in mind, the guys, we're going to be looking at the players up on this stage. They had a bit of a ping test with the new ROG Phone 9 Pro. It's looking good for them to make, and honestly, these happen so quick.
Yeah. I mean, that's how fast the ROG Phone 9 is, right?
Yeah.
Those ping tests just go breeze by quickly. The moment you're in there, everything's all good. Connection, fine. Performance, mint. Yeah. You even see RQ Hoshi smiling about it.
Those show plays don't make themselves,
Yeah.
Oh,
Have
good.
that good frame rate, you got that good fluidity, got a good graphics. That's how you get the best gameplay from the phone to the screen to the ring.
You're not going to finish it up? Come on. You even voted for RRQ as well. To the king at that point. But, Renmar, I got to ask you, because again, you are going for Twisted Minds. We're looking for ways, especially if you're in the shoes of the Twisted Minds. How exactly are you going to approach RRQ? It's going to be a drafting battle overall. Are there key picks that come to mind?
Well, then you're going to be looking at the picks of IDOC, number one. If you want to beat a team, the quality of RRQ Hoshi, you have to look at the center of the map. You look at the Chos, the Khalids, the Matildas. You take those three away, or at least challenge or be prepared for that, then that's one part of the game plan. The other one is, how are you going to translate your control in the middle of the map to making sure you get to supplement Saano and help him against Skylar?
Okay. That's an interesting approach. But we quickly asked a troll, you're now one step closer to the knockouts. How are you feeling? He says, I feel too excited, like I'm shaking on stage yesterday, and we're not nervous or stressed out. We'll just take it one step at a time.
Can only imagine the emotions going through, right? When you start taking down big teams that has been towering over you and your regions for, competition after competition, that win means a lot more, and sometimes that's kind of the momentum that you need, right, for that underdog story, for that anti-hero, well, in this case, the heroes of MENA, which is Twisted Minds.
Well, with that being said, it is time to start this game. Let's head on over to the drafting phase and figure out what exactly the masterminds are going to equip their players with the best weapons possible. As we head on into it, it looks like, from the looks of it, it's going to be Twisted Minds on a blue side with RRQ Hoshi on the red.
Okay, so they ban out the Hilda, meaning that they are looking into making sure that they get the best possible matchup in the EXP lane. Now, one thing we have to acknowledge here is that the importance of the EXP roam responsibility juggle in-game in this meta, where EXP laners sometimes are the ones going forward, getting vision and acting like the roamer, while it's the roamer who's maybe peeling back a little bit more to help supplement the back line, something that EXP laners are usually doing in the past. But you juggle that, and how well you do that is what distinguishes the best EXP roamer tandems in this meta. But now you have two roamers and EXP laners who speak the different language.
I love
So how will the communication fare off? So are you going to go for something solid and rush something like the Hylos? Or, well, you rush your power pick in the Bruno for Saano?
has been a late game monster. We literally saw Bruno beat FCON beat SRG, but yesterday they also used this Bruno to take out FCON, right? But they didn't let the juice in through, so that will be an instant pickup by RQ Hoshi alongside the Gatot. I do like that Joy ban. We kind of spoke about it a little bit, the Joy being one of the pocket picks for Twisted Minds. You take that away, and right now Twisted Minds, they might still consider that Sicilian being a late game option like they did with FCON, but we saw how that was dealt with earlier today as well.
Yeah, Sicilian and Bruno won't be a 100% win, but come on, just chase your comforts already. You're up against RRQ Hoshi. Get your comfortable strategy and get something like a Cho or someone who can go forward, get vision, and help control the tempo. If they cannot be the ones to actually take hold of it and dictate the tempo, at least stop RRQ Hoshi from ballooning to a crazy level.
I think at that point you might as well just go, what, Cho, Cecilia once again? If interesting. They're going to take up the high loss, but they're also showing the Nolan very early on in this draft.
It does allow you to play incredibly fast against squishy targets like Jusin, Granger. You have that great burst potential, but I'm surprised that they went for Nolan instead of a Suyo. I would assume that would be kind of the choice. Perhaps looking at the Jusin, they don't feel as comfortable. It has been sort of that direct counter matchup per se. So I can understand, but still, you need an answer to get to the Jusin.
Only love.
I think if Twisted Minds, if that's the case, it might be going a little bit more run and gun here. And of course, RRQ Hoshi are respecting that power pick in the Sicilian. So honestly, maybe it's because we don't see Nolan that often, especially here in the Swiss stage, that I'm leaning a little bit more towards the RRQ draft for the first 3 picks, especially since right now we're not fully too sure what the roam pick is going to be for Twisted Minds and the mid as well. That for most of the what we call powerhouse regions, you pick Jusin against a team from outside the powerhouse regions, and then you see the Jusin tearing it up. It might actually end up becoming that that's going to be the case in the early to the mid game.
That's a good possibility, but we've seen potential. Well, I mean, there's a couple of potential answers here, right? We've seen Skylar actually deal with Jushin using the Wanwan, but now that you've already got the Bruno locked in, it feels like there's a bit of a clash of styles.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of ways to do it, Jusin, not just with 1-1, but with heroes that are very mobile, right? Like Cho, Moskov, heroes that can get by the Jusin and make it really hard for it to start stacking the Lantern Flare stacks onto you. This Tigro ban from Twisted Minds is definitely kind of to try and limit what Edok has in his arsenal. There's also the Cho to consider as well. He has been insanely good at finding picks that you don't even think is possible. But taking on this Tigro also means that Twisted Minds needs to start thinking about what Tro is going to go for. He has already lost Matilda. Now he doesn't have his primary Tigro with him. What is the next option? Maybe the high loss.
I think even, I want to say yes, but at the same time, I'm more concerned right now for Cuffit, because again, there is a bit of a pinch in terms of the mage pool, right? Sicilian is already out. Now the next thing is going to be Aurora for disengage. That kind of leaves you with like Valentina, but Valentina completely gets outranged by, unfortunately, the Jushin.
Yeah,
Vex, I guess, right?
Yeah, Vex is the last best option, it looks like. But then if they're going to go for something like a Valentina, if it's not the Vexana and they go Valentina, that means they're pairing it up with high poke, high aggro, like just go in, then weave out, bob in, weave out. I feel like that might actually be their approach for this draft now then.
So they banned we still haven't seen the jungler yet. They could be a Fredrin, like you don't really have the damage to flow through the Fredrin until Bruno kind of stacks up his items. We've talked about Fredrin being a third and onward picks for most teams, especially on that red side. This Phovis ban could open up maybe Khalid or the Cho for RQ as well, right? It directly contributes to stopping these mobile heroes for the team.
Your team is
Yeah, the Cho does come true. I think seeing that Phovis ban kind of reaffirms RQ in RQ's mind that this Cho is now a very viable pick.
I have to agree with it. Now, honestly, for me, the question is whether Granger, is there a possibility? Because Sutsujin has used Roger before. I mean, people who play Roger tend to also have, dabbled in the Yishin Shins and also pre-reworked Granger.
Yeah. Minds. If they just end up defaulting into the Vex here, they might actually just pair it up with a high loss in the front, and then we haven't seen the EXP laner yet.
So what? Actually, is there a possibility? I mean, you already see the Granger before, so therefore, if you're expecting maybe another projectile, is it worth picking up Lolita specifically against this Granger?
It doesn't solve the big problem, right? Like, you have a Lolita, but then you are getting lifted by Tusin, you're getting kicked away. This chip could change the dynamics, right? Again, it opens up that macro versatility for Twisted Minds. But this also feels like you are relying a lot on Nolan to play the Nolan chip from early to mid, and then late comes all the way down to Sano.
Where? Is it really just gonna go into the roam? What if they're
Granger?
Mad
jungle?
Lads enough?
What did I?
Yo,
Granger jungle. Wow, for
Yeah.
Nitrogen.
Let's go! Because they've got a lot of setup. Although, my only issue is the Harith. I was thinking maybe Beatrix. I mean, there's a lot we're going to be talking about all outside of the cast. Let's throw it over to our casters. Take it away.
Hey, we shall. I'm super excited to see this one around, and
Man.
I feel the same way. You know, we're going to have this Granger jungle now here in front of us. Again, I'm Naisu, and this is Staffa to bring you the action for the matchup ahead of us. But I don't know. I'm liking the drafts here for both of the teams. I know there's a chip, too, over there, Staffa, but I'm wondering if they'll be able to utilize it, because we have seen in the past, maybe the chip doesn't work out because it was a power pick for the longest time, but let's see.
Upon the land of dawn sits an empty throne, eager for a new king. Will the kingdom rise to claim it, or will their mind palaces be twisted beyond recognition? Welcome back to the land of dawn for RRQ Hoshi versus Twisted Minds.
Okay, jumping in the game. We're gonna find out if this is actually gonna work out for them, because we know that, again, the momentum that both these teams have had throughout the Swiss stage has been pretty good. But with that, you know, looking at this now, I think when we talk about the specific heroes that could change the course of this game, wow, already quite aggressive.
And mid lane, a lot of damage being done. It's somewhat to be expected, right? Cho Zusin mid combo is going to be very oppressive just in terms of level 1 damage.
Make sure you guys go ahead and grab yourselves the M6 pass. It's available now from the 18th of November all the way to the 29th of December. You can complete all tasks in the game to reach level 75 for free, and there's a ton of rewards waiting for you guys. Of course, the Claude battle emote, the Glory Avatar border, the battle emote for Baksha, and the new special skin for Baksha as well, the Dauntless Shield, all for free. So back to the game. I think one of the things here too, Staffa, is the pacing, I guess you could say, this time around for RRQ Hoshi. We know that they love to fight, especially early on. And with a lineup like this, especially with the Granger, I think once you have that level 4 available from Edok, like we've seen him do in the past with this Cho, they're going to be aggressive already.
They already are. Troll almost dead, 10%. Hoda gonna be able to block that Death Sonata to make sure First Blood isn't given too early on. But a beautiful Lantern pull on Coffin, going to continue the pressure on for RRQ.
Again, pressure is what we expect here with the lineup from RRQ, and wondering if Twisted Minds will be able to answer it. The fact that they have a chip, they start up this turtle right away.
Yeah, Hoda's just going for it and instantly seals it away before RQ Hoshi can even respond. We're gonna see Mike Summer pull the back with the Lantern, going to use the Glorious Pathway to get out.
Very decisive decision to go ahead and start up that turtle right away based on how things went, and they secure them the objective. Great for Twisted Minds. Taking a look here, emblems-wise as well, this is nothing, you know, too out of the ordinary. Of course, on both sides still, you have the revitalizers for both these teams to go around with. But even then, the matchup in the jungle alone, I'm wondering how the pacing will be, because so far, even for Hoda, he's been doing pretty good, you know, dealing with the pacing that needs to be set up against the Granger jungle, able to farm. This is one thing we know about Nolan, is even if you don't force these fights, Nolan can shine later on, especially by just getting to the back lane or even putting pressure on the opposite side of the map, and then you have to respond to this. You know, we usually see this with King Kong before, when he loved to pick the Nolan pick up, and they'll go ahead and work around that. But so far, it's been a struggle to really find that pick off from either side. But now that Edok has the Way of the Dragon available, this is where we see them possibly trying to make a play. Sano's gonna get the information. Whoa, the kick.
Good flicker from Troll, though. Not gonna let the Way of the Dragon go in the direction they wanted. Pops on the shotgun. Troll will be taken out. First Blood over to Sutsujin. And even the Twisted Minds takes the portal through RRQ Hoshi. Instantly scatter their front lines and don't give them any space.
That was the right idea, man. You know, like, they went in, Troll goes in, Zaman Force.
Here comes Hoda, looking for Skylar. We're gonna see the flicker used. Zaman Force as well, allowing the Harith to jump away easily from Hoda.
Good flicker, and that's the point I was gonna say earlier on. You know, that was the right idea. Drop the shortcut, go in. Edok actually survived that initiation through the portals because he had the flicker, and then Skylar there too, burning that will stay alive. First item pickup, the priority here for Sutsujin is going to be the Sky Piercer, man. So wondering what else the build will be here for this Granger in the jungle. But this time around, RQ looks to go ahead and secure themselves this turtle. So now 1-for-1, both teams. Edok, it's got to be a little bit careful here. Doesn't have a flicker available, but still has the backup of the team Rins there as well. So still, both teams kind of looking for this side of the map where they can actually really punish things.
Yeah, RQOG especially, we know to be a team that's quite aggressive early on. They definitely have more of an early to mid-game power spike. So even though you're on a hero that can actually scale up with stacks like the Granger, we see Sutsujin going for Sky Piercer to just pull out aggro the early game.
Here again, focus on the bottom side. This is what we see teams really do, especially against the Bruno right now, and this might be the play for them, but so far so good. Troll's been exactly where he needs to be. Kind of keeping an eye on Sano there, making sure that, you know, doesn't get too out of control from the pressure being put by RQ. And so they still kind of look for things, and this is still the answer, though. You can see them really focusing down, doubling down on the side of the map. They want to start to get some of the tier 1 down if they can, and Sano trying to keep them at bay, but look at the damage.
Ouch! That is a lot of damage. Purify used by Sano in the backline. Portal drop down in the front line, and they're going to be able to catch out one, but it's going to be a Skylar trade for Sano. Both goal leaders gone. The knock-up way of the Dragon. G could still onto Hoda, but he's still able to dash away. Dyron now on top of the Nolan, going to be able to pick him off with Rin's assistance. As Enoch is picked up in the backline, it is trade for trade for trade, as Sutsujin picks up one for himself. Only 2 players remaining on both teams. Avatar the Guardian going to look for the knock-up, but Coven still has Purify, so the Zuzin is able to walk out.
Yeah, even trade. You know, 3 for 3 so far. Sano, though, joining the fight again. Gonna force them out of the jungle. Taking a couple shots from the Rhapsody, too. But ultimately, a good fight from Twisted Minds. You know, able to go toe-to-toe. It was unfortunate that Sano kind of got cut off, and then, you know, he got caught away from the team, and Rins was able to clean it up, and then the shortcut came through. And it looked a little chaotic for a while from Twisted Minds on exactly what they wanted to do in that fight. But ultimately, the fact that they got some kills out of the exchange was great, but they are losing these turrets. And that is going to be the advantage that RQ plays with as they work on this third turtle. Secure it here now, 2 in their favor. And also, again, the space here. Troll, though, joining the fight.
Yep, Troll dropping down the shortcut on Skylar, but multiple members of both teams going to be taking it through. Skylar now being surrounded. Avatar the Guardian, unfortunately, in a bad spot from Dyron, so not able to save him. But now the lift up on Hoda, going to be one traded over. Sano doing so much damage on the backline, though, as RQ Hoshi is dealing with all of the bulky frontliners, and they're not able to break through. One more down. Here comes Sutsujin from flank, not able to finish off Troll, though. Rhapsody comes out, Cuffing, going to use the ultimate as well to escape from Edok, and RQ Hoshi has run out of resources. Twisted Mind comes out on top.
Really good fight from Twisted Minds, and it could have been way worse, but great usage of playing some of that front line to block some of those shots so that Sutsujin couldn't just like walk in and then capitalize on some kills there. Again, both teams really trying to go and scale up, but yes, there's still this lead. There's still also the macro advantage that RQ has, and this is, you know, what they're going to play around with. The fact that they got those early turrets down, they can play into it. Good item power pickup here for Sano. Malefic Gun is picked up now. Key item that a lot of the Brunos need, but a look at the pressure here now on this side of the jungle from RQ. And they look to actually stare down this tier 2 turret. Couple shots with the Destinata. They will trade. Finally, that tier 1 goes down. Twisted Minds still pushing up there on the top. Looks like they might even trade this one, but they're going to have to go back and answer it. They do send Skylar up there, but this is a great kind of mirroring happening from Twisted Minds to deal with that pressure that RQ is putting around the map.
Yeah, I really like what Twisted Minds is doing right now. They understand their opponent, right? They've definitely done their research and knows that RQ is a team that wants to play for early game, ideally for snowball, and so they're simply not giving it to them, even if it means sacrificing a few towers. The goal is to get to that power spike around that level 15, where Bruno just immediately takes over the game with the 4 for 5th item.
How do you think that's going to work out here, though, Staffa? Like, when we get to the late game, especially the level 15 in mind, and you have those 2 gold laners, a Bruno and a Granger, who has that upper hand?
Well, you have to remember Granger is actually the jungler here. Hold on, Troll gonna get kicked. Drops the shortcut in time, but he's already gone. Cuffin comes through. AOG to stop anyone else. Hoda actually comes through right at the end. RQ able to destroy the portal. Twisted Mind's not gonna lose any more besides Troll for now, but that is the chip gone. And here comes the full commit from RQ. Glorious Pathway, not able to escape, but Sano doing so much damage from the flank, able to take out E-Dog. That's a trade on Mike Zama as well for RQ. Dropping low, Sutsujin secures it. Man up, Cuffin steals the Sutsujin, jumps forward, takes one, but is not able to finish off Sutsujin. That's gonna be a double kill for the Granger.
Double kill for the Granger. Sano's still going though. Takes a couple shots at Dyron. And yes, like you mentioned, there's the taunt.
Still going in, gets the passive in time to set up for the Zaman Force. There's Sonata, not quite long enough though. So Dyron, unfortunately, giving his life for nothing.
See, I'm so used to seeing Granger in the gold lane. Yes, you are correct, right? In the jungle. Even that matchup though, it's still gonna be crucial for this fight because yes, Skylar, his job on this Harith is mainly dropping down the Zaman Force they can fight in it, but the range battle, especially with the Granger in mind, you know, you're gonna be trying to deal with Sano shooting off, especially with a Malefic gun, and this is what he's doing.
Yeah, look at how much damage, how much pressure Sutsujin is applying all by himself. The range. To blow up, the shutdown, the monster kill, and Sutsujin plays one final Death Sonata for Sano.
That's what I was talking about, man. I mean, the two marksmen technically on the map is what you have to deal with in the range. It seems like the advantage really going to this Granger, and you take too many Rhapsody shots, and then next thing you know, boom, Death Sonata, and you are gone. Oh,
Hoda trying to look for Skylar, but the Zaman Force comes out. We can see even Skylar is scaling up now despite not having any kills. And Sutsujin dropping Mike Sama to 30%, forcing out the glorious pathway before the fight even starts. Death Sonata just pelting at Sano from all the way across the map.
How do you catch this guy? You know, how do you actually put that pressure where you need to? They're gonna put it on the top turret right now. Trying to salt the base down. Again, it was only that first lore that pushed in. They will lose those holy shields, those holy defenses in the base, but ultimately Twisted Minds does hold on. We get a preview of the stacks, of course, for the Granger, but also the Sky Piercer. He's got 5 stacks right now at the 50 mark. And this is the thing, you're already seeing that preview, and I think that's what's got to be answered here. How do you deal with this? How do you catch Sutsujin? Because, you know, even if you try to go for that angle, then this is why I was saying the Zaman Force plays that part where at least you can drop it down, and then Skylar can do his thing, and he's been farming up for the majority of the game. And it does get a little more difficult, and I think that's why we have to see Troll utilize the shortcut in a specific way to be able to offset RQ Hoshi's kind of positioning when it comes to the team fights.
Yo, Sutsujin is actually insane right now. Double the farm of Hoda, nearly triple the damage dealt of the second highest DPS in the game. He is showing us how Granger jungle is meant to be played. And I am terrified because I am going to see him everywhere in my pub games after this.
You know what? At this point, there's been some trendsetters so far.
Troll.
There it is.
Nice.
Cuffin with the shutdown, and now Rins has to use ultimate defensively. That is the kill that Twisted Minds have been looking for, but can still play. Flicker forward by Troll to escape. Unfortunately, still gonna be cut off by 4 members of RRQ, looking for a little bit of vengeance. Zaman Force should be the final nail in the coffin here, as Skylar finds a little bit of revenge.
Oh, you see what's happening here too. Twisted Minds gets that information. They make their way to Lord. They know that Sutsujin's down and gone. But RQ, they actually want to stall this out as much as they can and possibly even fight this. Can they make it happen?
AOG gonna miss on Dyron. Actually zones out the way of the dragon onto Hoda, right into Rins, but Skylar quite ready. Still able to get it though with the Zaman Force comes in. Dyron buying a lot of space between Cuffin and Sano. Gonna eventually lose his life because Bruno is starting to hit pretty hard. But RQ Hoshi will secure the position they were looking for around the Lord Pit. Sutsujin finally respawned. Cuffin trying to drop Rins down, but Purify already used. Has to use the ultimate as well. Sano looking for Skylar, not able to find it. Rins gets executed at the end of his life, but the job is done as the Lord falls into the hands of RRQ.
Great play there from RQ to actually go ahead and stall things out, find the right target, take out Hoda, and that bought him enough time for Sutsujin to make it to secure the Lord. Good attempt from Twisted Minds, but ultimately they find themselves on the defense. And you know, earlier what they did, the way they utilized that shortcut to be able to go and crash into Sutsujin and take him out is great. I'm wondering if they're going to replicate it.
Well, speaking of, they literally use the shortcut again on Skylar and Eva
Oh.
this time, and the latter is already gone, but they will trade Coffin for it. Troll now being chased down by Sutsujin, not gonna be able to escape with the Nana. I think that's the Sky Piercer proc. Double kill for Sutsujin as RRQ trade 1 for 2. Lord crashing in mid lane. Mid inhibitor already gone for Twisted Minds.
Edok did go down, but this is, again, a play that RQ can go and now knock on the base turret, still up top and bottom of Twisted Minds. Definitely still have to respect what can be set up here.
Of course, Traffic comes in, a nice fracture. Sutsujin at 10%. There's no Sky Piercer, though. Not enough to finish him off. Skylar with killing spree. Sano will trade for Rins. The Susin going a bit too far in, but that is another inhibitor gone. And with the final one falling, Twisted Minds no longer have any structures.
That was so close, Staff. I mean, a good thing for the Revitalize to help Susujin there because he got really low, and that's what I was saying. You got to be able to respect the damage still that can come from Twisted Minds. We saw a preview of it, and if they get caught in a glorious pathway trying to escape, then they might be in a bad situation. Twisted Minds, I feel like at this point, they almost have to twist their own minds to be able to go and find the right target, which is Susujin on the backside, utilizing the shortcut, taking a look at the items. They nearly have exactly what they need. This is a good item pickup too for Troll because he has to be kind of tanking up those shots, the Rhapsody or whatnot, even those basic attacks from Susujin, now that he has the NT Karas here to help him up, soak that up. But even so, Mike Saman needs to get a little more defensive because part of his job obviously is utilizing the glorious pathway, but then the Revitalize. And like I said, Hoda, we see this time and time again with a Nolan, man, able to go ahead and try to assassinate someone before you end up going down or escaping are all going to come to play. And even for Cuffin, you know, what ultimate is he usually taking? Well, it's usually Rins's Beacon, and he picks up a Divine Glaive. So damage is going to be great from Twisted Minds. The hard part is really solving that puzzle of the team fight and the positioning that they need, because some more big item pickups obviously are going to RQ now that they have the 6K gold lead. And even earlier on, you saw how much gold and damage was done from Susujin alone. He's picking up the potion now too. He's locked and loaded at this point.
Oh, that's Sonata. They scouted out Troll. No ambush attempt here. And RRQ, you can see how effectively they are using this hero pickup. Twisted Minds, like you mentioned, do need to delay the game a bit longer. Their frontliners are just not durable enough. In comparison, Dyran and Yidok both already have Twilight armor. So even Sano not going to be able to get through them too quickly.
It's a really hard positioning to take here against this Lord, take against RQ for Twisted Minds too. Cuffin's still looking to take an ultimate from this. We'll see what he ends up doing. They are going to go ahead and stay away from Cuffin's entry point. Rins is going to wait patiently there. The Lord is going to be started up. They still have to, again, take time because Troll can actually go ahead and utilize this chip in this situation. But look at the placement of Hoda. Hoda's on the other side again because he knows that he can shortcut down through. Half health on the Lord. Here's the green light. They're going to go for it.
Yeah, RQ makes the executive
Troll.
decision, but Troll is in the backline with the shortcut. Skylar picks up the Lord, but here comes Glorious Pathway. And Twisted Minds are surrounding RQ hosting. But Sutsujin is too much damage. That's going to be a mega kill. Sano going to be trading one for one. And now Skylar has been shut down. And Sano is going insane. He finally gets traded away. But what does it cost? All 5 members of RRQ. The kingdom has been wiped off the map.
Twisted Minds twisted their mind for that one, man. I said that's what they had to do. They do it. They diminish the gold lead that RQ had. They still have to deal with this Lord, but what a momentum shift that Twisted Minds just had. We're going to get a good look at this replay. Again, brought to us by Kadia. Look at this placement. Troll comes in, conceal, finds Riz, crash courses in, does a ton of damage too, drops things down. The AOG wasn't enough to help them out, and then even from Troll, he takes this aggressive flicker forward to cap out a kill. And that is a fight that definitely goes in the hands of Twisted Minds. Great usage of the chip, and again, this is why that hero was usually banned out majority of the time, because things like that can happen. RQ still in control generally of the game because of the advantage they have with the map presence. Those turrets are down from Twisted Minds, but that's exactly what they need to hopefully turn things around in their favor if they really want to cap out game one. Again, it is a best of 3 this time.
I've personally observed so far in the Swiss stage that when you are playing against a Bruno, if you are not able to end the game by the 15-16 minute mark, it doesn't usually end very well for you. And Twisted Minds have bought themselves a lot of time with that previous engagement.
Yeah.
So I am actually quite worried for RRQ now. They really got to play the next few minutes carefully, or we could witness another comeback.
Twisted Minds has been doing that. You know, we saw that yesterday. Get another look here at the stacks, of course, for Sutsujin. He's also a huge threat. You know, we talk about the Bruno a lot, but it's still the same thing. And Twisted Minds, eventually, they have to do so much. They have to line up so many things right to be able to shut down the right marks here from RRQ. And that's what they did. So still, Troll, he's going to have to replicate the same thing because most likely it's a stalemate until this next Lord comes up, unless they actually force a fight for that numbers advantage. RRQ Hoshi, considering the fact that they have control around the majority of the map, they could do that, but it also exposes them if they aren't able to actually land that setup they're looking for, whether that's Edok, whether that's even Dyren. They're better off kind of just taking it slow, waiting for that Lord to come up, and then trying to go about it a different way. Because this time around, I don't think it's going to be the same thing. You know, RRQ Hoshi isn't going to fall for that play that we saw earlier from Troll, setting things up through the portal and then dropping the shortcut.
Yeah, RRQ Hoshi basically need to mind the positionings of two players on Twisted Minds, and that is going to be Troll and Sano specifically for reasons that I don't think need to be too definitively explained, right? We know that these are the main targets that RRQ could lose the game because of, and because of that, they gotta adopt a slightly less aggressive positioning around this next Lord.
It's a really crucial one again, 20 plus minutes in. Still take note of the positioning for both teams on the map. I don't think Sutsujin actually, you know, wants to fully commit to this just yet too. Cuffin taking the Avatar of the Guardian this time around. And as RRQ gets ready for this fight, you know, manages the waves, they want some of that pressure to still go too. And that's why you also have the Hoda dealing with that wave up top, because they've got all three lanes kind of pushing in because the base turrets are down. And so they got to manage that. They might even try. Looks like they wanted to possibly push into that tier 2. It does. It might go down. They sent Skylar up to deal with it, but both teams kind of just staring each other down. If they could actually get a surprise attack on someone here for Twisted Minds, if they can actually find one of the members of RRQ and take them down, then that sets themselves up better for the Lord take. But it's half health now. And Cuffin holding on to this Avatar of the Guardian. It is going to go for a reset. They're still staying up top though too. They're up Hoda alongside Troll. Both teams not really wanting to overcommit on this Lord.
Yeah, in this case, Twisted Minds going for the macro decisions here, and Troll finally taking the shortcut through, flickers forward, doesn't really find the target he needed, but Portal comes through finally to set up Oda. Comes through in, gets the Lord very easily. RRQ Hoshi looking for retribution right now, trying to pick up Mike Sama, but he's able to run away, and Cuffin, even with the Terrify, prevents further engagement. Twisted Minds snatches the Lord right from under RRQ Hoshi.
Again, another box ticked here for Twisted Minds to go ahead and turn the game in their favor. They made the right move. They went in, they got the Lord, and then they disengaged. And now they can kind of recuperate themselves and get ready to go ahead and march further with this. Look at the gold difference between the gold laners. Sano's done an amazing job at really farming up. Still obviously locked in with everything that he needs. Going with the no boot route here and just picks up the potions because he wants to be able to pop off as much damage as he can when things are set up. Cuffin still holding on to the Avatar of the Guardian too. This could be a very scary defense for RRQ Hoshi to defend against as that Lord makes its way up top. They try to hold on to these turrets the best they can. They still have the tier 2 turrets, and it looks like they'll clear things out that way. But also defensively. You know, earlier I was saying Mike Saman needed to get some more of that tankiness, and now he's got it. Even with the immortality, able to help him out from this. So RRQ, as the waves are going to be managed out, how do they approach this base defense? When we look at it, their base defense isn't too bad, but they're most likely going to have to utilize the Zaman Force to clear some of these powered up waves, because this is a rather strong Lord pushing in at almost the 23-minute mark. They want to hold on to the base turrets, but we might see a exposed base from RRQ as they get ready for the defense.
Flores Pathway comes in, Twisted Mind looking for the kill angle. Dyren caught out, cannot AOG out to safety. Killing free for Oda, and the stolen AOG knocks up Edok. He has to flicker away. He's going to be able to pick up Troll. The Lord is on top of the crystal, but it's dropping low. Zaman Force comes out. RRQ Hoshi will be able to clear it away as Twisted Minds now.
Nice, Skylar mati.
Skylar blows up in a single second as Sano kicks him in the face with a bowling ball. Twisted Minds in full control.
Yeah, those aren't footballs anymore, Staffa. Those are bowling balls at this point from Sano. And you can see just how much damage it is doing.
Troll even going back in. Shortcut comes out. Cuffin takes in. Mike's up
Oh, no.
for his halfway drop
Okay,
down.
really?
Edok can be
Edok
targeted.
mati,
Still has
Edok mati.
immortality.
Nice
So they're
save.
trying to clear the way.
The
for
base.
what's possible,
Base.
but they don't have enough damage.
Wow.
Twisted Minds have turned it around. They have taken game number 1 from RQ Hoshi.
You cannot count these guys out. The Twisted Minds, man. I said it earlier. They got to twist their minds, get back into the game, make it work. They were down by so much, and they scrap it together again, just like they did yesterday. Even without the Sicilian, what a performance from them. Panel, take us through game number 1.
Holy cow. Game number 1 already. Things are already shaken up here. Now, I mentioned earlier, Husky, if Twisted Minds take game number 1 in the fashion which you just witnessed, has that shaken up your predictions?
A little bit. Shaken my predictions a little bit for sure, but still have faith in RQ Hoshi because we saw the pros of both teams, right? RQ Hoshi, early to mid, very clean with their engages, very good ideas. But when that late game rolls around, we all saw how Twisted Minds win the previous game. It's all that mid to late game, the macro play, Cuffin and Troll. Oh my god, what are you guys made out of?
Renmar, have they twisted your minds off?
Heck yeah, they've confirmed. I'm not crazy to believe that possibly, potentially, you know? Just what I really appreciate what Twisted Minds did. Twisted Minds did go for the last big chip, how they played it, even though they lost it. And we were talking about this, we were like, is Twisted Minds just gonna be playing for the late game now? And then Husky, you mentioned, oh, maybe that's how they win, you know? And they dragged it out to the point where they could just find an opening, and the opening was through macro, with showing the chip and the Nolan up top, or well, no, the chip was hiding, showing the Nolan top, and then suddenly you think, all right, we're gonna fight. Nope, here's my portal. Suddenly Hoda goes through and just goes there to retry, not to fight. They escape, they push forward with the Lord, and they continue the aggression.
So many things happen in that one sequence. Like not only showing your jungler top, forcing Skylar to respond, chunking on Susujin, forcing that recall. I gotta say, we saw FCon against SRG. You asked us if we believe in the 2%. Do you believe in that 1% win probability for Twisted Minds that they just made come true?
Yeah, again, there is a live win rate prediction here in IOI. It got to 99% RRQ Hoshi will win this, 1% Twisted Minds.
It's pretty crazy how things are shaping up. 20-19 was the final kill score, 23 and 40 seconds as the duration of the game. All right, looking at the items, first things first, obviously, Bruno is Brew, yes, for sure. We know that. It is tried, tested, and true.
GTS.
Sutsujin
Wow.
on the Granger jungle. Walk me through this, because again, they've got a good distribution of damage. They got magic in the gold, they got physical in the jungle. However, I'm looking at his item build progression, and he is swapping out. He was rich.
Yeah, he had to constantly swap it out.
Yeah.
He would get BFB, he'd get whatever item they decided needed at the moment, and then would buy back the boost so that they'll have the stronger retribution once it got to the point where objectives were the main name of the game. You really got to appreciate what RRQ Hoshi did in their draft. I am more subscribing to the idea that they picked that Granger as a flex. It wasn't locked in yet for the jungle. The moment they saw the chip and they thought about the possibility of how this team fight would go, they decided we need a second carry. It cannot just be, let's say, if ever it was, the idea was Skylar on this Granger. We need another carry, so if one goes down, the other one will cover. And that's why RRQ dominated for a good amount of the time. Because Twisted Minds, yes, they would fight, but they could only get one carry down. They couldn't get both Susujin and Skylar for the longest time.
Yeah, and that was also partially because Twisted Minds, from the early to mid, didn't have the damage just yet, right? Sano still needed an item, Cuffin still needed an item, Hoda had a rough early game. At one point, he was 4 levels behind Susujin. But also, credits to Twisted Minds, like Troll for finding those angles, right? Constantly able to jump on Skylar, bring his whole team in, jump on Susujin. And the same problem with Granger that we saw, you need a finisher. Susujin was trying to be judge, jury, and executor, but at one point, when that Bruno comes online, no one's the wiser.
I mean, let's double check how much damage he did, and yes, he is going to be topping the charts for his team. However, on the opposite end, both Skylar and as well Sutsujin, like you mentioned, Remar, as the duo carries, also putting up some good numbers. So really, it's not about whether or not the execution is good. I want to talk about team fighting and also specifically positioning, because Cuffin pulled it out on some critical moments.
Yeah, that sudden entry to go for the Shadow Strike, to be able to dash forward. There was one clip there where we saw Cuffin just, you know, helping check out bushes, the shrubs, because the chip wasn't there. He saw Sutsujin, poked him, brought him down to 40%. 60% of his health gone in just one combo from the Valentina. And the fact that he would be getting the Crimson Beacon of the Juicin, it essentially turned into another Juicin, except with a deadlier outsource of damage. Because the Valentina isn't going to be using the Lantern Flare for damage. No, it's her Shadow Strikes and dishing out that damage coming out from the Crimson Beacon as well to help reposition and stuff like that. Oh, what a game by Cuffin, man. Cuffin season is real.
I mean, it is Cuffin season, but Sano at the end of the day was the reason what got them over the finish line. As much as Cuffin was able to kind of clutch it up to get this man to his item, Power Spike, he is, at the end of the day, the finisher.
Again, when that Malefic, he bought Hardcore Malefic Gun, and then I was saying that he needs that Berserker's Fury.
Yeah.
Once he got that, you saw even Dyron and Edon, they could not walk up. They take a few soccer balls in the face and they drop to 50%. They gotta start backing off. So Sano, he's definitely been able to get the time and space to hit that item spikes, but again, has special mentions to his teammates, right? Cuffin not only taking Crimson Beacon, but switching to the AOG in that late game. He's like, if throw isn't enough to dive, I will be that diver myself.
I mean, if we're talking about dive, and more importantly, I'm a little curious about your thoughts on the chip coming in from Troll. Because the angles which he found, and also a couple, I think we'll see it in the highlights as well, a couple of these angles were a little questionable until we look later into the game, how flexible they are, and more importantly, even Hoda, right, utilizing the portals in a very interesting manner.
Yeah, we have to discuss here and acknowledge the double-edged sword that is what we call the brawl playstyle of Indonesian teams. Indonesian teams are some of the best, if not the best in the world with team fighting. But those team fights can get really messy. Not all the time, but when you have a pick such as a chip available on the other side, that's how you can exploit that the breakdown of formations that sometimes happens with Indonesian teams when they team fight. And even the best team fightings in the world succumb to that. So Twisted Minds, again, the angles that Troll was coming in, that's probably why they picked this. It really just shows that Twisted Minds went into this acknowledging the best things about RRQ Hoshi and realizing that even in the best qualities, there are weaknesses. Let's pick up a chip to make the most out of that.
Yeah, and we even sort of question, right, that for this ban enable not just a Cho pick, but almost everyone else from RRQ Hoshi, and we're thinking, how is that draft going to come together for Twisted Minds? But like Rema pointed out, the chip angle from Troll really exploited the fact that RQ Hoshi not only want to brawl, but they also don't have the longest reach, right? They constantly have to be moving forward with the Granger and the Harif, and every single time they overstep, Tro shows up, and then suddenly his entire team is on Skylar, and there's nothing that RQ can do about it.
And there's something that you mentioned earlier as you led up to your question to me. It's the man marking on RQ Hoshi, where once that Troll, the chip portal comes up, once you see the chip, it feels like RQ Hoshi is like, wait, which angle do we go? They had all of the tools, yes, to turn the team fight around. That's why they were team fighting well. But at the end of the day, it felt like they were overwhelmed at times by all of the angles the Twisted Mind members were coming from.
It's interesting to see, because at the end of the day, I thought they would have man-to-man defense much earlier on. Do you think there was a little bit of disrespect coming in, especially for the first couple of minutes into the game?
I didn't get a hint of disrespect, though. They were managing their minion waves. They were positioning relatively well. I think it's just the surprise factor that the chip brings, and we were reminded as to why chip was the priority ban for a good amount of this year.
You can't be sleeping on this pick, and obviously, hold on, let me just put on the aging glasses here. Hello Panda is going to be fueling your game, because with Hello Panda, it's crunchy biscuits filled with creamy chocolate, the ultimate snack to keep you energized. You can level up your day and visit Hello Panda website for me. Do we have any on the desk right now? No, we don't have any on the desk.
They haven't refilled us yet.
I'm pretty sure Troll has some. I'm pretty sure the chip has some, right? Because the chip loves that Hello Panda. In fact, when he opens the portal, he says, hello, it's me.
Panda. It was building up to that. I'm pretty sure. I remember seeing a box here. I'm pretty sure Trex has already stolen it from us once again. But with that being said, honestly, with the way that these games have been shaping up, even I'm going to need some fuel to digest all the information happening in this game. Well, as these games are going to go by, and more importantly, as Game 2 is going to be starting soon, real question is about adaptations. We're going to be here on the desk thinking about that, but we're going to be throwing it over to our side reporters, Michelle and as well as Poji. I'm curious to see what they're up to.
Hi guys, here's Michelle. So now I'm having the analyst and caster from Indonesia, Arashi, with me, and also Progi is joining us, right?
Hi,
Okay.
Poji.
4G, sorry for that. So Arashi, welcome to Malaysia. So what brings you up here?
I'm here to support RRQ, my favorite team, and also Indonesia. Hopefully, we can have a great performance here in M6.
Okay, sure. So after watching the first game of the RRQ Hoshi, how would you like to reflect their performance?
I think they did pretty well. I saw a lot of good moments there.
Sure.
Of course, it's the M series. You never know what's going to happen. But I feel like the drafting phase is solid. Keskute over there is doing a great job. And when it comes to the mechanics, at least, RRQ is always solid.
Yeah, but Twisted Mind shouldn't be underestimated, really. It's still strong enough. So, like, after you knowing that RRQ Hoshi is qualified for the M6, how's the feeling? Because they were missing for the M5, right?
Oh man, it feels really bad because for the longest time, RRQ wasn't really doing so well. But now we've did the rebuilding. We had great new members, new rookies coming in. So I think they're doing a great job. They made us proud already in MPLID because they improved so much in one season. So we're all looking forward to the performance on the international stage. They are new, but I think they have a lot of potential and you cannot count them out.
Yeah, new roster and a new arrow maybe. So, about how long you have waited from Indonesia to here?
About how long?
How long? About the distance?
Oh, it's about like 2 hours.
Oh,
by
2 hours
plane.
is long enough. It's long enough, right?
It's not as long as you. But
Yes. So any message, any words you want to say to RRQ Hoshi and about other fans who is back home watching from Indonesia?
okay, I guess I'll do this in Indonesian.
You can say that and we're gonna translate for us, right?
Sure, okay.
Okay.
Fans RRQ yang di Indonesia dan di negara lain, Kingdom, doain terus tim kita semoga juara, semoga bisa membawa title M6 ke Indonesia. Viva! Viva!
Serumpun. Oh, dapat cakap. So kepada semua peminat-peminat RRQ di Indonesia dan juga yang berada di Malaysia, all around the world. So come, show your support and always pray for your favorite team. But kita nak tunggu apa lagi? Oh, sorry, I have to speak English with you.
Yes,
so,
sure.
what's next, Michelle?
Yeah? Okay, that's good for us. Thank you for the translation. Thank you for Arashi. So now it's a good time to start the game pipe. Let's get it back to the panel.
Thanks, Poji, and thank you, Michelle, and as well as Arashi, RQ's #1 fan, watching here at IOI City Mall from Swiss Stage all the way from the beginning till the end. However, it's not over yet, and now it's time to discuss the most important part, adaptations coming into game #2. Because Twisted Minds, they've shaken it up for RRQ now. I think they're gonna shape up. They gotta tone themselves. They gotta stay disciplined.
They gotta ban the Bruno.
Yeah, like it's a hot take. It's a very hard to swallow pill, but you gotta ban Bruno because this is M6 World Championship, not the goddamn World Cup. Ban the Bruno, man. Ban the Bruno. Please, Casio, please. Ban the Bruno, okay? Ban the Bruno. Yeah, ban the Bruno.
It's desperation here because again, Bruno has been doing so well, turning a lot of these fights, and especially when it comes down to the late games, it's not a good time. It has not been a good time for teams who face a late game Bruno. Let's look at the players' current conditions right now, and based on the faces that I'm seeing up there, things are going serious. Things are getting dark.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not gonna look at what Bruno has done for the entirety of the M6 World Championship so far, at least look at Saudi Gold himself. Look at Sano and what he's done on that Bruno. That in itself warrants a respect ban. You tried to play into it. You did what you could to come up with a lineup that could challenge it, but he still ended up becoming the MVP anyway.
It's pretty disgusting, but we got to talk about EXP laters and Dyren. Very accomplished. I mean, he achievement in MPL IDC's Vorti's dream team, but his history, right? All the way from Rebellion, and then eventually joining RRQ on the 12th season. He continues to grow, and he's had his ups and downs, right? He had to even go to the MDL for a certain degree just to come back to achieve second place with RRQ Hoshi's main lineup.
That's why when we talk about RRQ Hoshi, I feel like in the past few days when the lineups would come up and even in the draft, the conversation would always just float to Dyren, what he can do in the game, what he can do for RRQ Hoshi. So I think that's one thing that RRQ also needs to look at. I mean, he was present in the previous game, but with the RRQ draft in the last one being a little bit more focused in having the double carry set up, now you might want to go back to basics. Put Dyren on a hero that could potentially bully lane and out-presence the other members of Twisted Minds.
Out-presence. I mean, there's a couple of things that we're going to be looking for in this game. In terms of adaptations, Husky's already mentioned Bruno. I want to bring attention to even Chip might be utilized well for either one of these teams, right?
Yeah.
So let's see how this is going to play with RRQ choosing to be on blue side up against the Twisted Minds on red.
I agree. I think the Chip also is now a hero that can definitely be considered. More so on that red side, since you have that last pick potential. When we talk about being control and not kind of having a tempo broken, Chip is sort of the one that always jams that extra screw into your machine. So they do ban on the Chip. I like this start from RRQ, and because they're on blue side, if that Bruno goes through, they can take it for Skylar.
Are you going to have a similar meltdown if Twisted Minds lets the Bruno do this time?
Please, man, Bruno, please. please, right?
Lyric,
if he wins 9 out of 10 games, there is a reason.
I mean, it's to be made. However, you only have so many bans, right? If you're willing to give something up and it's so focused around the gold lane, which half the time, you don't see the gold lane from like mid to early unless there's a heavy snowball. But here we go, finally.
Yes.
Coach Lyric is like, I got you. I'm getting rid of the Bruno. This is going to be a matchup now.
Yeah. For the first 3, I was thinking, yes, one of these. I'm looking at trades for Eve, Kali, Cho, Gatot, Suyo, Alpha as the main. Oh, and excuse me, Granger as well. Now that the Bruno is gone, and of course in link to the Beatrix. So all those heroes I mentioned, I feel like we're going to be seeing in the first phase, unless Twisted Mind suddenly swerves to the third pick and says we want to pick up a Coffin hero now, either the Aurora or the, not even the Valentina, Sicilian. If Sicilian over the Valentina, go for it.
Especially when you're up against Eve, because again, that laning phase can be a little bit difficult if you're like Valentina, for an example. Take too many Void Blasts, you're out of lane. Can't really outpush the Eve once she gets her first. Outranges the Eve and scales really well.
The Joy did get led through, and it is one of the first picks we saw from Twisted Minds in the first day of Swiss stage, right? So Hoda, great on the Joy. We saw how it was utilized using the Chip, which thankfully was banned now, but I do like this opening. So easy trade for RRQ. They go for Gatot Suyo, big power picks to go with the Yi. Instant Moskov. This is one of the few picks that if you want to create a vacuum, Moskov can play around it.
Yeah. Oh, this is really interesting. Interesting, because I'm looking at the lineup coming in from RRQ. It looks kind of similar to what they played in their grand finals against TLID. And then we cut back over to the Twisted Minds, and I think they've got some really good concepts. No Chip, all right, let's keep this fight messy, but there is a possibility for Sano to make it into that backline more reliably.
Yeah, when you see an Eve on one side, the high loss is one of the most go-to counters you can go for if it's not either the Gatot or Khalid. It's a little bit more honest. You're going to be running up into it, but it provides what you need, that extra boost of movement speed so that you can break through formations. And then of course Joy, who says, what formations? I'm Joy.
Yeah.
I will somehow find a way into the back line. And of course if they're going to be playing around the box, then you have the Moskov to go in with the Spear of Destiny, Spear of Destruction from a different angle. One thing that RQ Hoshi might want to consider respecting here, and that Twisted Minds might actually surprise with, if they could do it with a Chip, they could also do it with a low Yi.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's the Loyi. If you want to look at roam options, there is a Cho right now. If Troll is comfortable with it, you could take it. If not, then maybe you can just ban it, right? Because you're on that red side. If not, if you want pickoffs, the Kaja is always like sort of that option. You want to get to the Yi. If you want to stop this Suyo from dancing around your backlines, that can also work as well. really comes down to how messy Twisted Minds wants the team fights to be, just like game 1.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit more awkward if you're going to play as something that's a little bit more alt reliant. What are you worried about with Pod? Is that, yeah, whoa!
They're trying out there.
It could be because they want RRQ Hoshi to play with a marksman that isn't really going to be splitting the lanes, but joining the other members of RRQ Hoshi. Looking to win via the team fights. That's why good ban by RRQ. They read it. They read out the
yep.
low E.
I mean, they did it in the previous game, you know, with the first 3 picks, the Yi even as well as the Loyu getting banned out on top of the Hilda. But at least now, for the side of RRQ, I think at this point, what are they worried about, right? Are they going to be prioritizing whether or not, you know, Gato going into the EXP4, Dyron is going to be a good option, or are we thinking it's just about priority?
I think right now when you have such huge power picks, you're thinking about how to bolster that, but I think in the back of the mind is also first how to stop the Joy and how to get to the Moskov, right? Like these are 2 very slippery heroes that can easily not only kind of mess up your battle formations, but in these moments of chaos can overwhelm you. Especially when the late game rolls around, right? Like we talk about the Cho being picked up, you want to split those battle lines, that Cho is perfect.
Okay, you have your Vision Getter, you have your Front Holder. Is Skylar gonna go pick up one of his iconic picks in Season 14 of MPLID in the Nathan, or is he just gonna follow the trend now and consider either the
Or like
Great
Irritel.
Oh wait, oh yeah,
Irritel, right?
Irritel's another one of his iconic picks. Okay, so are they gonna look for another source of magic? Need another front. It can't just be the Gatot. Ruby. Oh, nice micro stun up against the Joy. Oh wait, now they can go Valentina again.
They can go Valentina again. They've got some pretty relevant ults at this point, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough, right? Because it doesn't matter what mid-duel, whether you switch out for Ruby for the Gato Gacha, they are going to have full control over that mid lane in compare. I mean, as long as you have a concussive blast, right?
I mean, as much as we say that if Coffin gets his hands on the RWM, it sort of defeats the purpose of what RQ wants to do. You have a Gatot backline die, but everyone else wants to run in, and you don't really want to run into an RWM.
Yeah, and if there's a real-world manipulation on the side of Twisted Minds, that's a little bit happier for Joy as well, because RQ is trying to get out of that, but then at the same time, they'll have to try and get away from the Joy. Of course.
Still go back for Sicilian.
Of course, go for your Sicilian, yeah?
Late game monster, right?
Yeah.
So much late game damage.
I mean, it's the classic, right? Again, walk me through which draft do you think is going to be taking it away? Is it going to be enough?
I'm leaning a little bit more towards RRQ Hoshi, but we cannot deny that Sicilian needs to be respected.
What about you, Husky?
Same, I like RQ's draft a lot more.
All right, that's the opinion from the panel. Let's throw it over to the casters to get us into game number 2.
What? I'm not sure which draft I would go with here because there's both both have signature picks, and the fact that Twisted Minds just got the Sicilian, they can replicate what they just did in game 1. And I think part of this too is just the determination that they showed in game 1 already. If they carry it here, again, they're at match point in this best of 3. Can RQ bring this composition to the table to get them to a game 3? Because of course, both teams want to move forward to the knockout.
The Land of Dawn remains a silent witness to history lived and rewritten. But will it bear witness to history twisted for the first ever MENA team making it to an M-Series top 8? Only time shall tell in game 2 between RQ Hoshi and Twisted Minds.
And as we get a look at the junglers here, this is going to be a crucial thing. We've seen so much of the Suyo pop off and a lot of early game potential, but same thing can be said now often with the Joy. She's been it's just been a pick that's popped up a lot. It's quite durable, it's quite mobile, and against this kind of lineup, that's exactly what you need, and maybe that's also why there's a little bit of that catch, you know, that comes through with a Ruby. The mobility itself can be matched with Skylar now on this Irithil. A lot of early aggression already.
Up Troll gonna do some poking, but actually ends up overcommitting himself. Has to use Flicker already.
But it's there to be able to catch, you know, any of these heroes out, really, that Twisted Minds have brought to the table. And it could actually end up being in a situation where, yeah, maybe Troll overextends a little bit, tries to get that set up or that kick that he's looking for, but then there's a Ruby across from you. And even for Hoda to try to bounce in between, like we've seen so much of Joy just escape situations, you know, with very little health left, but now that you have the catch here available, that should help them out.
Tak kena.
Little trying to delay this a little bit more from Hoda, but Hoda's going to be fine. Now go into it when we lead ourselves in that first objective, that first turtle, so to speak. Which team has the advantage here when it comes to their lineups?
I would say that RQ Hoshi definitely has a composition that plays towards their comfort, right? Which is that early to mid game. They've got a lot more resources, a lot more access to early game damage, and having a Ruby to stop Hoda on this Joy as well means that they can take fights very, very easily. We can see that Twisted Minds isn't even going to try and contest the first turtle.
Yeah, they really got to wait for that level 4, I feel like, for Troll, you know, to be able to pick people off if they can. He doesn't have it just yet, but
Hoda coming in, electrifying beats used, not gonna overcommit on Edok though. That is gonna be Hoda's ultimate enemy. Twisted Minds needs to respect their opponent's positioning this game.
this might be one of those games too where Twisted Minds just waits for the late game. Like, try to drag things out the best you can. If you do get a pick off with utilizing a Troll here on the Cho, then great, but if not, then play for the late game and build up into the fact that you have the Sicilian this time around, and even the Moskov for Sano. Because the pacing really from RQ, just like they did in the previous game, they're the ones that started things up. They got things going, and I expect them to do the same here in mid.
Coffin in a lot of trouble. Flicker
I'm offended.
hook from the
Nice
Ruby, and Rin's gonna pick up first blood in the mid lane.
That's what I was talking about. You know, you set things up with the real world manipulation, helps slow things down a little bit, but then you throw in a Ruby, able to catch things out. Couple shots here. Trolls trying to help out here for this, but
The flicker jump going to miss actually. The CC from Edok messing with Troll's rotation. That's not going to be a catch on Skylar they were looking for.
I feel like this is enough of a wrench thrown into the cogwheel. That Ruby pick. Mid!
Coffin literally getting smushed into face
Hoda.
by the AOG. Electrifying beats, but it's not going to save Hoda as the I'm Offended pulls him in and gives Sutsujin his first kill of the game.
The stock value on the Ruby definitely going up here. You know, at this point, this is a very big lead already early on. Purple buff.
Sano gonna actually take the Spear of Destruction. Purple buff still stolen away by Sutsujin. Unfortunately, his presence not gonna matter too much. Moskov doesn't have enough damage, but the Glorious Pathway is committed anyway. Sanguine Claws pulling Dyren back. They're looking for a kill, any kill they can get, and they'll find it. Sano gonna finish off Dyren, and now Troll jumping forward, gets CC.
Okay,
but there's so much damage actually from Twisted Minds. Coffin holding his first kill. Real world manipulation comes out. Blazer is actually stuns Coffin, and he's still stuck in the death box. He's gonna be finished off by Sutsujin, so RQ will trade a little bit back.
A good showing that they still want to fight, even though they lost the purple buff. They'll go for it. They're trying to make a play up top.
Skylar in a lot of trouble. Hoda's just gonna chase him down with Sano, but Skylar, but Sano almost picked off, but not quite enough. At the very least, Sutsujin is able to grab the turtle on the other side of the map.
Trading a blow for blow, whether it's for kills, whether it's for objectives, both teams finding something in these exchanges, but still it's RQ Hoshi that holds on to the lead. 2,000 gold up, some big items being picked up, those first items locked in. And so we see these fights break out, and we see Twisted Minds really trying to fight it out, but ultimately they're just getting a little bit overpowered, you know, in terms of strength. They're gonna need some time to build up on what they need, but they do find something. They still hold into the game, and they did the same thing in the previous one. As long as they keep it from getting into, you know, crazy lead territory like we've seen in the past, through the past couple days where you're talking about 6,000 to 8,000 gold leads, then they should be relatively fine in securing the late game.
Way of the Dragon finds Rin's into the AOG, not gonna land. Unfortunately, Rin's able to pop up that real world manipulation, and now Twisted Minds completely caught out. Troll is gone. Mike Sama falls, double kill for RRQ, both given over to Skylar.
Such a good job from Edok there. Just literally all he did was plant himself in between where Cuffin was from that fight, because Mike Samat jumped in with the Avatar of the Guardian, and then Cuffin really didn't have a way to actually enter that fight and use those bat impacts the way he was looking to. So right now, RQ Hoshi, you know, looks like they've solved this issue that they had previously, or even what they saw in the previous game where the Sicilian was picked up by Twisted Minds. And both junglers just kind of battling it out. No one else here really to help them out. Well, 1v1 though.
That's actually a bit of a mistake in rotation from Hoda. Sutsujin will punish it. Killing spree for the Suyo on RRQ. They're gonna look and continue chasing, zoning Troll backwards. This next turtle should easily be in their control.
I know you're elusive on the Joy, but that's not a fight you want to take. You don't want to take the 1v1 versus a Suyo, especially when those retributions are available. And now this turtle's up. And this is just going to be a 3 for 3 for RQ. Troll goes in, jumps in again.
Ooh, we have Dragon canceling here. RWM comes out, RUG as well. Sutsujin, this whole time is just taking the turtle, and even despite his absence, RRQ Hoshi are taking control of the entire team fight. Troll just gonna be funneled in here, trying to run away, but he also knows that he's licked. They're gonna try and surround Sutsujin to get some payback, and they will find a shutdown for Coffin.
Good pickup on a kill on for Coffin here. But still, you're seeing it. You know, these team fights are not going the way of Twisted Minds at all. And it's a little bit more difficult this time around because they're just going for the front. You know, they don't have this chip this time to throw things off and come in from a different angle. Or like, for example, when we see the Luiyis with the diversions, this time around, they kind of just rely on Troll to go in with the way of the dragon, the kick. But then you're so exposed because of the fact that you're playing into real-world manipulation from Rins that it's really difficult to actually get the angles you're looking for. And this is just now turrets getting knocked down, worked on here from RRQ, building up on the lead that they have. And Twisted Minds, how do they get back into this game? You know, how do they actually get some control in their favor? Even though they found a couple kills here and there, that's great for them, but it puts them in a bad position for the First Lord. They're gonna have a hard time here. Kicks coming out from Troll.
Yep, Hoda trying to follow up on Sutsujin. It looks like he can come out. RWM not gonna be able to stop Hoda, but they're gonna be able to find the taunt with Dyron, and that is a lot of damage. But Hoda able to dash away. Even the glorious pathway used to support their escape. Meanwhile, there's a 1v1 between Skylar and Sano in the bottom jungle. Sano has to run off. You can see the Hero Tail starting to hit that power spike. Spear of Destruction going to miss on Edok as well. So RQ wanting to look for trades wherever they can.
Still gotta respect the fact that Twisted Minds is willing to take these fights even down what they are in terms of economy. They're still trying to make it happen, trying to make it in a position where, yeah, they're not at a huge disadvantage for that First Lord. And given that, you know, they actually might be able to contest this. They might be able to go ahead and go toe-to-toe with RQ Hoshi, as they've gotten themselves in a position where, even for Cuffin, you know, I'm wondering how many stacks he has. I know it's still early in the game, but also a Malefic Gun being picked up here by Skylar. Some more defensiveness for Dyron. And Troll, he's gonna have a hard time making this work. It's been difficult for him so far, and he's gonna get pulled this time.
Literally the moment you said it, Troll faces even more difficulty, not even able to escape from that brush because of all the crowd control from RQ. Glorious Pathway comes out, Hoda looking for Skylar, not able to connect as Edok flickers forward and stuns him. Hoda has to run away, and that means Mike Sama gonna be abandoned in the backline cup and trying to support with artillery fire, but it's not gonna be enough as Skylar grabs a killing spree.
This is just gonna be a trade now. Lord being taken here. That tier 1, Sano takes that down on the bottom side. They'll still try to hold on to the mid turret. Looks like they do, but Edok hopping the conceal. That Spirit of Destruction won't land either. So this is just cross map after cross map happening for both teams. Hoda, though, they're gonna have to get together, restructure this at this point because they got a Lord to deal with. And Twisted, you know, trying to get some of these turrets down. They've managed to get 2.
I'm offended. Troll gonna get pulled away. Still has Shunpo though. RQ not gonna full commit on that just yet.
That's why I was saying it was difficult here, Snafa. I mean, he still got the flicker, you know. But as the Lord comes in and they try to hold on to the turrets, they're gonna have to make this work. Hoda gonna get spotted out. Look at the damage!
The melting damage from Sutsujin. Dyron not able to chase, but that is all of Hoda's resources down for the count. And the Lord is still gonna be pushing down bottom lane. RQ gonna be able to do a lot of tower damage with this next push after all of that was baited out. Glorious Pathway comes out from Mike Sama to slow down the push. Edok actually stuck inside, but RWM actually catches out Mike Sama instead. Mega kill for Rins, and AOG continuing to zone out Twisted Minds into their base.
Shields are popping. Lord still has to be dealt with as Twisted Minds finds himself on the defense without Mike Sama for a little bit longer. They're going for the base turrets right now, still going to be worked on. Edok is a huge threat on this Ruby. I'm offended.
Once again on the Troll, and he's just gone melted as if he never existed. Skylar hitting that power spike, and Coffin slain as RRQ Hoshi, eager for vengeance, eager to twist their opponents right back. They will take game number 2 and bring us to a full series.
It's what we expected here. They didn't waste any time. Again, 11 minutes, 12 seconds. They saw the Sicilian, they saw what happened yesterday, and they're like, that is not happening here. Not even giving a chance for those stacks to build up. Great adjustments from RQ. A very clean game. You know, this time around, right off the bat, able to punish. And again, I think the value here in that Ruby pick was just on the mark because it solved a lot of the issues. It solved a lot of the problems that maybe that Cho would have made for the team, or even the setup potential. But the fact that you have the Ruby there really helped them out. So let's go ahead and throw it over to the panel to see what they have to say about Game 2.
Thank you, Nice as well as Sadaf. Man, that game definitely saw a different side of RRQ. A lot cleaner, a lot sharper, but we did see the mechanical mistakes get heavily punished as Twisted Minds. Unfortunately, that early game, one or two of those was enough to send them spiraling.
Yeah, I think, you know, RQ still kept the same playstyle that we've seen, still loves the brawl, still does it cleanly, but like you said, right, it really came down to Twisted Minds. They went into this game having a pretty hard to execute composition like game 1. I would say arguably even harder than game number 1, but they were playing it in a way as if the draft from RQ is from game number 1. They were not really disrespecting the Ruby. They were really trying to force a lot of fights. You know, like Hoda was trying to force a backline dive whenever the team wasn't ready. Lot of minor mistakes that RQ punished.
Yeah, there was a time where the Ruby and the Eve were a killer combo, and they were killer with punishing teams that overextend, don't respect the roam and the mid laner reach, their ability to poke down, and it was just like that, a rinse and repeat. They played around the box of the Eve incredibly well, and the moment that Rin saw that, hey, I'm gonna pop my real world manipulation, I'll use it now, build an advantage, they did that.
I think that, you know, in particular, the Ruby pick was already looking very good. Husky, we were talking about this while the game was going on. It had a lot of overlaps, a lot of potential answers. Cho could barely move. Even Hoda had to be very careful with the way that they positioned around it. And even so, unfortunately for the high loss, that glorious pathway is only in one direction.
Yeah, you don't really have a way to keep the Ruby kind of at bay, right? You don't have someone that when the Ruby walks up and he's like, hey, you can't walk out like this. You can't just walk up and pull my teammate. High loss feels like the only person, but you don't really want Mike Sama to be in that position. That's why we sort of were going back and forth a bit about a potential Valentina that can not just, you know, be there with the Terrify, but the utility that you can steal from RRQ to benefit your teammates if RRQ plays fast. Twisted Minds don't really have that. It ended up being a more one-dimensional. Let's get to the late game comp, get Hoda and Sano online, and they never made it there.
Yeah, you can see that Twisted Minds at least kept the joy with them to have an aggressive option. But then the fact that they picked up a Moskov and then a Sicilian just goes to show that Twisted Minds showed to RRQ that we're playing for the mid to the late game. We are going to try to out-macro you. We're going to space out the maps. And similar to what you mentioned is they went into game number 2 with the idea of playing it as if they played game number 1. That's why RRQ read that Aloy could be a great option for Twisted Minds, took it out. So they forced Twisted Minds in this funnel of either picking between the Valentina and the Sicilian, which, yes, the Sicilian has great reach, but of course it needs time. And the Ruby and the Eve do very well paired up with Suyo to take time away from their opponents.
Wouldn't that mean that at the very least Twisted Mind should have been playing on the opposite side of the map? You know that, like, at least for Joy, 2 items is kind of where you're looking for, unless you get a super early first item. I mean, Cuffin obviously is going to need 3 and the stacks on top of that. And even for Sano, you're basically not a marksman until you get the Trinity finally complete.
Yeah, I wish Twisted Minds maybe could have considered a different marksman than a Moskov. I get that they were playing for macro, but now I think this is a reminder again, even though we've seen Moskov win twice now in very iconic performances, I am still a Moskov hater for a reason. And we got to see it here. And RQ picked up a great Irithel that isn't the Trinity marksman. She builds a very different path that scales much faster once she gets her Berserker's Fury at item 2.
Yeah, and just for Moskov to work, there has to be certain conditions that need to be met, right? First of all, your team needs to be able to go in and go in hard against a Ruby Eve that is already eliminated. So that condition, with that condition kind of wiped out, Sano has very little space to play with. And second of all, I think Twisted Minds, when they kind of lost Cuffin 3 times in a row in that early game, it definitely shook them up a lot, right? I feel like they definitely could have slowed down if this Sicilian didn't just kept being picked off.
I mean, RRQ demanded respect and Twisted Minds eventually had to fall to it, right? 3 times the mark. Well, let's give it up to the man who not only dominated the lane, but created those opportunities. It's Rins from RRQ. I mean, his GPM isn't going to be the highest because, again, his pivotal moment is, hey, I just need the utility just enough to do enough damage. And plus, we're winning pretty much every one of these neutral objectives and team fights.
Yeah, exactly. And remember, in game number 1, we came up with the statement wherein the juice and pickup usually goes into, like, if you're from a powerhouse region, you pick something like a juice in so that you can mess up non-powerhouse region teams in the center of the map. Eve does the same thing. It's a little bit more honest, it's a little bit more vulnerable, but it goes to show why she rose up in priority and why teams would want to chase her as the first pick.
Let's quickly look into these highlights, right? Because again, a lot of these moments, it's can you punish the mid laner and then start opening the map from that point onwards. And after that third death coming in from Valkim, these are his only first 2. You can see that even Twisted Minds were trying to adapt to it, right? Potential counter engagements. They're just not expecting RQ to have that many reinforcements.
Yeah, not just reinforcements, but also how fast those reinforcements arrive. I think Twisted Minds failed to realize that throughout the game, how fast RQ Hoshi actually moves throughout the map. You have this board created by Rince, but you also have people like Suyo, Gaton Kacha, even the Ruby to a certain extent that has movement abilities that can allow them to get close to you when you least expect it. And from that point onwards, it was just a snowball, right? Like RQ Hoshi are willing to press ultis just to pick off single targets.
Well, I mean, considering how this game has been looking like, what are some of the adaptations that Twisted Minds can actually improve on, or at the very least look for in the draft? Because again, it's very mid-lane focused between both sides. Again, take away, you know, that cornerstone, the whole structure starts to crumble.
Yeah, I'm trying to think up of better picks. I feel like, especially that game number 2, as we've been mentioning already, it was more of, not disrespect, but again, maybe they were a little bit too happy after what happened in game number 1. A little bit too excited. And, oh, yo, it's RQ Hoshi. Come on, let's go. We can take them. Oh, what's this Ruby? Where's this? Oh, what's this Eve? Suddenly, I think I got to agree with Husky here and said, like, Twisted Minds needs to slow down now. I mean, this brings you back to earth. You are up there in terms of excitement with your victory over RQ Hoshi in game number 1. Now in this game number 3, RQ Hoshi have shown that against Twisted Minds, they're looking at Coffin and saying you're the problem, and we're going to be focusing on the center of the map now. So you're going to have to pick up something that crowd controls a little bit better, that stops invades a little bit better. And funny enough, they did that, but they were just countered by a really great Ruby Eve pick.
I mean, it sounds great, but at the same time, there is respect given to both sides. Like, even Kesku was talking about, you know, the masterminds coming in from Twisted Minds itself. And, I mean, let's look at the quote here. I think this will explain a lot, because we got a quote specifically, if I'm looking here correctly, it is from Day a lot here. In his quote, it's talking about being rivals with Coach Lyric back in MENA, and when Twisted Minds eliminated them, after that, he decided to join MPLPH. And here's the scary part. We've seen a lot of these Filipino analysts, coaches, whenever they come back, whenever they drop down and they feel like, oh, I'm about to retire, a team picks them up, and suddenly something changed. Arcadia had the similar story.
Yeah.
So many, I can go down the list if you want to, but I think this says a lot about the motivations coming in from the back end of the Twisted Minds.
Not just that, but also kind of the value that they bring, right? Like, there's a reason that even at your lowest moment, people still see you as something greater than you do, and that's how Arcadia sort of ended up winning 2 MPL titles and an MSC title with the same team throughout a two-season journey. But I think in this case, you know, for Twisted Minds going into Game 3, look back at Cuffin once more. He's the playmaker. You want to enable him as much as possible. Maybe Sicilian isn't the way anymore unless push comes to shove. And I think on top of that, it's just start thinking about how a best of 3 plays out, right? If this was a best of 1, I think that celebration was warranted. But best of 3 demands deep pockets, and RQ has shown some of that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to tweak your last statement right there. Sicilian could still be the answer. Just hug the tower a little bit more, maybe in the laning phase. Yeah. Don't be overstepping against an even Ruby too much.
Yeah. Okay, wait. I mean, we saw Joy in the previous matchup. We're talking about adaptations. Potentially, we need to have a discussion about Joy. Now, question is Joy, yes, no, maybe, is Joy overrated? I felt like when we saw Hoda play in these games, it's, to me, I'm undecided on it. I feel like there's a certain tipping point where Joy suddenly becomes yes, but a large majority of it, especially the early, and especially when you see Suchij play with the rest of his team, as an individual, it's hard.
I think the word we're probably looking for is situational, right? Like, I'm not saying that, oh, Joy is too popular and, and ended up having a horrendous win rate. No, but games that Joy won, there were reasons, right? You're enabled to head into the back line, you can find angles, you get your items on time. Games where Joy lost, was like the previous game where you are just getting control to Oblivion, you don't have the enabler by your side. So I think teams, you want to pick up Joy, by all means go ahead, but you need the right support system.
I know, completely agree with Husky here. The best Joy games we've seen comes from the fact that the Joy is supplemented well. It has people getting vision for it. The Roman mid aren't losing that terribly, and it is given space to shine. So it's not overrated at all. With the marksman meta, as a good amount of marksmen have been starting to call it, with the rise of some of the best picks in the world, you need someone like Joy to be able to access the backline, to break formations. Marksmen thrive in slow front to backs, having all that space. And Joy is one of the best jungle picks right now to destroy that space. But again, it's not the easiest to pull off.
Well, I mean, Joy isn't the only assassin that kind of does that, right? We have Ling, we have Hayabusa. Those are the classic ones.
Yeah, but then I'm going to throw back to what you mentioned yesterday. This meta's all about those chunks of damage, and Joy brings out that chunks of magic damage that isn't easily countered up until maybe the 7th or 8th minute mark, maybe even closer to 11 or 12, when the frontliners have magic defense items.
Honestly, especially with the Joy in the late game, the ref is just telling you, protect yourself,
Yeah,
keep your hands up. I can't do anything. I got all the MR, but it doesn't matter as we head on into the draft for our very final game. Only one of these teams are going to move on and qualify for the knockout stage in advance, while the other will have to play another best of 3.
So it's going to be Yves and Loyi banned. We kind of go back to basics a little bit, right? Twisted Minds wants to have RQ play in a vacuum, and I also respect the fact that RQ banned out the Bruno. Jusin is open, but there have been ways to deal with her. Bruno being one of it, that has been taken out. We've seen dive comp like Moskov, Ling Angela. Those are decent as well, as long as the Jusin cannot just kind of statically put the lantern on you. See if Twisted Mind decides to go for that, or alternatively, they could start looking at the more flexible picks.
I mean, if we're talking about flexible picks, I mean the Zushin, right? The Zushin makes every composition feel really, really nice, especially when you need to fall back onto an anchor that doesn't die very often. Zushin comes to mind straight away. No surprises here. They're going to be locking it in. Now, what is RRQ's response?
Okay, with the Jushin over there, honestly, I think they'd want to go for the Cho and the Suyo.
Cho Valentina doesn't look too bad as well. We did see Valentina take the Crimson Beacon, and you don't need to spend time just holding out your lantern, right? You are consistently doing damage. You are technically a lot more mobile than Jushin with the Crimson Beacon, so you can make use of it. They've been playing Gatot Kacha 2 games in a row as well for Dyron, but in this case, you'd probably just go for your mid lane.
They might actually just chase damage and get the Harrow.
Oh, the Suyo?
Okay, so it was the Cho Suyo that I mentioned earlier, so...
You called it. But here's the concerning part. I feel like at this point, if they're going to devolve back into a regular RRQ style of play, I think they're going to hold their gold laner all the way to the very end here. I feel like if they show the potential answers to the Zushin, like 1-1 like we saw the last time, it's going to get hard countered by the Irithel. So there's got to be a give and take.
Under the condition that Twisted Minds doesn't get the read and ban the 1-1, right?
Exactly,
like
yes.
I think if you're Twisted Minds, you might be looking at your gold laner now. So you can start shutting down what Skylar has for options. So they take the Gatot away first, and the Hylo, so very honest.
Okay.
So they're both now fighting for that gold laner.
They just went ahead for the tanky boys. I mean, I'm not going to knock it, but at this point, I think you want to consider either the Aurora or the...
Yeah, I think you pick 1-1.
Oh, wow. They just won one right away.
Yeah.
Because you saw Hylos and Gatot, right? You saw Hylos, Gatot, and Justin. If you don't take 1-1, she's going to get banned out.
Exactly.
This guy is going to start scratching his head like, what am I going to play?
Now you just need to get rid of the bad 1-1 matchups, and then you're kind of set for the rest of the matchups, unless... It kind of depends where Twisted Minds wants to go, right? Because at this point, if we're thinking about bad matchups from the gold lane, all right, that's not what Twisted Minds is concerned about. They're more concerned about, hey, we've already shown our flex pick at this point. There's got to be a jungle pick that needs to open up and, you know, find these opportunities, and it may not necessarily be an assassin. I'm hoping that Alpha might be, you know, taken into consideration here. That might be something that RQ might bans out. No. If they're going for Nolan, I'm expecting the Alpha to follow suit, right?
Yeah. I really appreciate this Nolan ban here by RQ, because when you mentioned the Alpha, I agree with you, but then I realized, oh, there's still a 1-1 on the other side. That's a little bit happier for the 1-1 now, because you have the Alpha, the Gatot, and the Hylos now to potentially mark down and hit with the crossbow of Tang. So they took away what they needed, which was the best burst physical marksman that's assassin that's hard to catch by taking out the Nolan.
Yeah, it also eliminates the potential of something like a Fredrin, right? If Twisted Minds ever considers that, because you don't want another beach, you don't want another like crossbow tank setup
Yeah.
for the 1-1.
It's a free setup, but at the same time, this
Unless-
composition may be thick, but it needs something that scales, right? That's where where all of our heads are at currently.
Yeah, so Granger is also one because it outranges 1-1.
Oh, that's a good point.
And again, right, you not only eliminate him from the goal lane, but also the jungle. Unless we see something like a... I feel like we probably just devolve back to Hayabusa. Or if we go down even further, maybe the Julian for Twisted Minds, but I've not seen Hoda play that.
Yeah.
The Joy... maybe?
It's a little tough, right?
Yeah,
because
it's tough.
Alpha and Julian are both in that same boat where it's like, it's kind of hard to get in range of 1-1 anyways. So that means you're probably going to have to look for other ways on the map to actually punish our opponents, take away that front line maybe. That's why I'm leaning a little bit more into the Alpha, but I think that RRQ, now that they banned out the Granger on top of everything else, it's, I mean, where are we going to go with this?
Twisted Minds might consider wanting to ban the Phobius here.
If there's any day for Phobia's ban. So they banned the Valentina.
Oh,
I can
wow.
respect that, right? Like you have good ultimates for Valentina to steal. Like Glorious Pathway, AOG, Crimson Beacon.
Yeah, that's true. At the same time, some Valentinas are afraid to duel up against and get close to a Juice in the laning phase, and those Valentinas often win.
Yeah.
I mean, you still have the Vexana available for him, and I mean, one of the classic answers to the high loss and the Gacha.
Oh, this is going to be interesting.
So it's a glue. Yeah.
Alright.
Kills two birds with one stone. High Lord's Gatot does not matter.
Yeah.
And who is gonna kill the glue?
It might not really not have enough damage, because even if you draft something like a Harith here, then the presence of the glue is difficult.
So it's a Moscow Joy again.
Oh,
Though this time they do have tools that enables the Joy a lot more, right? It's not in the previous game where you're getting stopped by a Ruby. There's no room for a Ruby right now for RRQ. That mid lane though, the Vex now feels better.
Yeah.
Vex is great now.
I think you kind of don't have a choice at this point, right?
Yeah.
Your Aurora was probably going to be like the best way to handle it. Even the Valentinas, they all deal with these, melee heroes very, very well at mid range. Now it's going to be like high execution. If you miss your fear, you're basically as good as dead.
Yeah.
I wonder if Twisted Minds also picked up the Joy, thinking that maybe RQ are thinking of just picking something weird like a Faramis because of the aggressive team fight that you could chase after that. So,
That's one way to deal with it.
Whoa.
That's one person that the Joy does not want to get on top of.
What is more Indonesian than a Kadita pick in mid?
Yeah.
Interesting. This is going to be an interesting matchup here. Some decent bursts, and also, I mean, we might see Cadito go up in win rate this time round. We're going to throw it over to our casters to handle this very final game.
It's all coming down to just this one game for either of these teams, Twisted Minds or RQ Hoshi, to make it to the next stage of the M6 Championship here. It's the knockout stage, that top 8 spot that they're looking for, and really it's in either team's grasp at this point. Based on everything we've seen up to this point in the series alone, in this best of 3, either team can grab this, but Twisted Minds, they have to make a big adjustment from that very quick game victory from RQ Hoshi in the last one. Can they replicate what they did in game 1 with this lineup? We'll find out, because it's about to happen.
On one side, a kingdom representing the pride of a nation, and on the other, a squad representing the hopes of a region one step away from reaching top 8 for the first time. Only one may remain undefeated into the M6 knockouts. Will it be Twisted Minds or RRQ Hoshi?
Right now, Rins taking some damage, but he's going to be fine. Also, the Kadita, the fact that this comes out at this point in the tournament is great. You know, we've seen previews of this before, but what a fitting way to go ahead and grab a victory if it is RRQ Hoshi. And now Twisted Minds, on the other hand, like what they mentioned, with this, actually already very aggressive from Rins. Troll goes in with the Unbreakable.
A good knock-up between Manji Kundo. Sutsujin not able to follow up though, and now Smike-sama even coming to join the party.
Wow.
And no casualties so far.
No casualties, 2 flickers used though from RQ Hoshi. Cuffin will take some damage here. He's going to be fine as the mid lane still fighting for control.
Yep, Cho gonna get pulled back, taunted as well by Troll. Concussive Blast doing a lot of damage.
Oi,
Cuffin pulling
sikit lagi.
Enoch back one
Aduh,
more
tak mati.
time. But not quite enough damage to finish him off.
Threading the needle there, you know, the fact too that again he didn't have the flicker. Surprised he was able to go ahead and withstand that. So still neither team getting the first blood, still trying to set the pace. And I think that's the thing too, you know, this Moskov Joy pick this time around might work better for Twisted Minds than in the previous one, just because of the fact that they have, you know, their bases covered when it comes to the initiation, when it comes to the front line. They're running a double revitalize composition too, so they're really trying to extend some of those fights and withstand a lot of that damage that will be kind of bursty early on from RQ Hoshi, especially with the Kadita. And then you have the two Purifies. So they have a lot of sustainability and utility that they can work with this time for game number 3 on RQ Hoshi. Playing into it, Skylar and, wow, Sano going 1v1.
Yeah, Purify used by Sano, but Skylar showing superior skill. First blood claimed on the Moskov. And now on the Turtle Pit, so Jin on top. We're gonna see the blue jump in with the split set up for the rough waves. Troll surviving all of it with the revitalizer, still going in with the passive, still surviving. Jin gets the turtle rings, gonna be traded away. Troll still alive after everything, and Darren's gonna get pulled back by the Zeustin one more time. That's gonna be 2 kills for Twisted Minds in the turtle pit. Enoch jumps in, gets the knockup. Jin lands on Troll as well, finally picking up the kill his teammates could not get.
They weren't going to let Twisted Minds get all that, and then, of course, not get a kill on top of the turtle that RQ Hoshi gets. But yeah, you saw it, you know, how surprising it is when you have 2 revitalizers to be able to go ahead and withstand a lot of that damage and extend those fights. But also in the gold lane, the fact that Skylar gets that 1v1, gets an item a little bit of ahead here, picking up that Corrosive Scythe already, so still also a level ahead against Sano. He's going to have to rely. Sano needs the help of the team to allow himself to get back into this, at least the matchup for a little bit, because right now with Skylar having this advantage against the Moskov and having the notion of, okay, I have momentum in my favor, it's going to be really difficult for Sano to try to go ahead and go face-to-face against a 1-1. And that's not even considering the fact that later on, you know, Skylar, we've seen this earlier in the tournament when he loves to pick this 1-1 and gets the airtime he needs, has items, and just turns fights around. And I guess that's, again, why you have this double revitalized composition. You want to be able to withstand it, and then the Winter Crowns will come into play later. But still, as Twisted Minds tries to keep things from, you know, getting too out of control, they're working against just a 1,000 gold deficit at this point.
Yeah, I think what RQ Hoshi is going to be identifying right now is that Skylar has already gotten a much bigger lead in the gold lane than you would have previously expected. They're going to try and extend that pressure over the rest of the map as well. This is already a composition that's very well designed for the one and hold on. Sano being focused again. Skylar actually able to get the crossbow tank, but not quite enough.
Aduh, tak kena
AOG
pula.
comes in, taunt on Skylar. He cannot connect the crossbow tank. Sano keeping his distance. The rest of RRQ too late to save their gold laner. They'll transition over to the turtle pit instead, but Twisted Minds already in control of it. And they should be able to zone them out and take it.
See what happens. Susujin's just around the corner. They're going to fight for it, though. Split already used. Turtle for the taking.
Susujin jumps in, steals it away from Twisted Minds as Toda is kicked away by Enoch. Now the split jumps onto Mike Sama. Will they be able to get the pull in? Blade Surge from Susujin lands. Troll and Mike Sama, though, so
they're going.
Tricky. Enoch with the final knock-up, and that's going to set up for the evil quelling as Skylar also picks off Coffin in the mid lane.
Man, earlier on, I was going to say, you know, it was unfortunate Skylar couldn't get the crossbow of Tang off that he was looking for. Very aggressive on it, gets punished, but then later on, after all that fight breaks out for the turtle, he comes in, gets a kill this time, so he's back on track. And Twisted Minds, when they go into these fights around the objectives, you know, it looks like it should be in their favor. They have the proper tools to make it work. But RQ Hoshi's been pretty good at getting those battle spells out if they need to get the revitalizers or the glorious pathway for one, and even the AOG earlier on because of that gold lane initiation. So that tier 1 turret's gonna go down, but top side, Rinse
gonna get caught out with a taunt. Rough Waves used defensively just to escape from Twisted Minds. But Electrifying Beats was also committed by Hoda. Now we can see Dyren gonna get pulled back, but I don't think either team is looking for a fight right now.
This is what RQ Hoshi and teams like them love to do here, Safa. You know, little by little, they'll go ahead and focus down the objectives, whether that's the turtles, whether that's those early turrets down. And even the way they manage the farm, you know, in the jungle and then in the lane, they start to build up on these leads, but before you know it, it's out of control. And with this point, you're at 3K ahead against Twisted Minds, who has a lineup that obviously needs a little bit more time to build up here. It kind of gets difficult in the situation where Twisted Minds has to be able to go and maybe be a little more reactive to what RQHoshi does, because most of the time, it's either going to be Edok that starts those fights or starts those skirmishes up. And with this, the last turtle of the game is going to come up. Troll picks up that Radiant Armor. He's going to need it for the amount of magic damage thrown at him. Mid lane, though, Cuffin also being checked here, and this RQHoshi, they'll get in position. I'm not sure if there's much of a contest here from Twisted Minds, but they might still try, and as Hoda makes his way, but he might be too late.
Rin's gonna get pulled back, but here comes the stun from DAY3. They're gonna be able to get away with the Dragon on Troll as well, and Crossbow Tank's already set up. Rough Waves also committed, and Skylar takes to the skies and starts doing some damage, but the AUG gonna cancel a lot of it out. Troll's still gonna be taken out though, and DAY3 pulling Mike Sama back in. Here comes the Spear of Destruction, but I don't think he wants to commit to it, even though Edok is low. That is a double kill as RQHoshi take 2 and the turtle.
I think they're going to take more as this tier 1 finally the mid lane goes down, and great usage of this glue pick. You know, DAY3 able to go with the split and drag people back right into the fight, right on the mark. Exactly what they needed with the lineup that they have. Twisted Minds really struggling still in the team fight. I mean, looking at the items too, they don't really have that much firepower. You know, you got a Genius Wand here for Hoda, and you're hoping to help, you know, make it work with Cuffin on this Jushin pick. But even so, Sano, 2 items locked in. You see the gold difference between the gold laners. You know, 1,500 up for Skylar right now. He hurts. You know, he's got the Trinity, he's got the Processite, DHS, and Malefic Roar. That's enough to go ahead and do damage to even the front line and the sustainability that Twisted Minds brought to this game. And so they need a lot more time to be able to go and actually fight. And that's why Skylar, as aggressive as he's been since the beginning of the game, even when he got punished early on, he's still going to do that. Oh, Spirit Destruction
connects on Skylar, but he has Purify, and now you see the Purify from Sano as well, but you cannot Purify. Death, Rough Waves finds him. Crossbow Tank already prepared. Electrifying Beast doing a lot of damage from Hoda on the sideline, but Susujin still on top of him. They've lost Rins, but they traded for Hoda. Wow. The killing spree. Double kill for Susujin. Triple kill as 4 members of Twisted Minds are
There's another.
They're looking for one more. Split the
Nice, man.
for Susujin as RQHoshi run over their opponents.
Yeah, that's not what you want to happen if you're Twisted Minds. A maniac for Sutsujin and Skylar as well. And I'm going to commend again DAY3 able to just go and pop off on this glue, even under the turret, drag people back for those secured kills for the team. Just perfect synergy from RQHoshi right now in this game number 3. That'll all get them this Lord as well. First one of the game. Twisted Minds in a position where, you know, they don't even really want to go and fight right now, because even if they do, even if, let's say, they get the perfect setup with an Avatar of the Guardian or, you know, just cutting off the Glorious Pathway, they're outgunned and outfarmed right now. This is going to be very difficult to even defend the base turrets on this first Lord push, as they do try to hold on to this tier 2. Well, with Susujin early on, hold on, pressure already put.
Yep, DAY3 trying to jump in, gets CC'd by Cuffin, but the Glorious Pathway utilized defensively already as the bottom tier 2 is just gone like that. Skylar picks up the crossbow of Tang, gonna commit to it. Revitalize, not gonna keep Mike Sama alive. Mega kill for Skylar as RQ sets up for the continued Lord push.
RQHoshi wants to do what they did in game 2. They're on track to do it, as all these shields are going to be popped, and now the top turret goes down even before the Lord makes it. A 10,500 gold lead at this point, 10.5 minutes in. They might look to close it out already. Twisted Minds has to come up with a defense of a lifetime to stay in it and to turn things out. They'll clear out the Lord, but the bottom turret's going to be worked on. And finally, they do clear out the Lord, but base turrets will all be down and exposed, and Mike Sama jumps on in, trying to cut them off.
Comes out, electrifying beats on top of DAY3, but he's surviving all of it. Even flickers out with the split, the glue, everything. And now RQ, it's go time. Godlike streak for Susujin. Troll is gone. Twisted Minds with the 4v5 defense. They're trying to hold off the minion waves. Able to do a good job clearing them but the flicker, Jikundo with the dragon into the unstoppable streak. Legendary for Sisajin. Skylar picking up one of his own. Only one minion left. Twisted Minds will finally take it out. Zano taking the Spear of Destruction, but not enough damage yet to punish RQ. They are still 5-man strong. Tyrant jumps in. Hedog jumps in. Zano trying his best, but he cannot stop them. They have attended every M-Series playoff to date, and they will continue doing so as RRQ Hoshi make it to the next stage.
What a performance coming out here, RRQ Hoshi. Game 2 and Game 3. Game 3 even faster than Game 2 at 11 and 08. Feeling really good about locking that in. And again, for Twisted Minds, they should also keep their heads up high because, again, across from them was a team established like this, RRQ Hoshi, a dynasty in themselves. And they held their own, especially in Game 1, able to turn things around. A lot that they can learn here, but very quick victories that they faced in Game 2 and Game 3. But again, congratulations to RRQ Hoshi for moving forward. Let's throw it over to the panel to break down the series.
Thanks, Daisuun, as well as Dafa. Great cast there. Beautiful game coming in from RRQ. Hoshi, the Kingdom. They don't want to be cruel sometimes, but they gotta show that they are still on top. And Twisted Minds, they definitely felt the might of the Kingdom.
Yeah, order is always maintained to a bit of force and power, and it's good to see that the Kingdom finally made it to the knockout stage, continuing what history has always written in its previous chapters. And they gotta props to Skylar, man. Skylar had an amazing Game 2 and 3.
Yeah, the fact that he got the solo kill Sano to start off the laning phase in the gold lane, and then of course the fact that after game number 2 they continued what they did in that game here in game number 3, which was punish errors, punish mistakes, and punish overextensions by Twisted Minds.
Oh my goodness. With that being said, at the very least, this is our very first team confirmed advancing to the knockout rounds. Congratulations to RRQ Hoshi. Perfect score from the Swiss stage, 3-0, and obviously a bit of a struggle at first, but you know, showing their true might, definitely making sure that they are, well, showing at least a bit of that varnish, a bit of that polish that we expect for an M-Series competitor.
It's a tale as old as time, right? Like RQ, they only dropped one game, and that one, you know, props to Twisted Minds for dragging us to a Game 3. Like, a lot of us came into this expecting a 2-0, so props to it. I'm enjoying this.
All right, with that being said, it does mean that we get to throw it over to our hosts and to talk to the winners of this game on stage with our winners.
RRQ Hoshi, the first team in the M6 World Championships to make it to the knockout stage. First of all, I am with Coach Cute. Coach, how are you feeling after winning that game?
Of course, yeah.
Feeling great. Okay, Coach, maybe you can hold here so we don't interfere. Hold the mic here. Yeah, hold here, hold here.
Oh,
yes,
oh, yeah.
Okay, so we don't interfere with anything. So you're feeling good?
Yeah, feeling good. Really, really good. Yeah.
Were you guys nervous entering M6 because you guys have been putting up a very good performance? So were you and your team actually nervous for the Swiss stage?
Yeah, a little bit nervous, and then yeah, especially it is BO3. Yeah, we didn't expect they are playing good on the first game.
Ah, yes. Now, Coach, I have a question. Speaking of BO3, RRQ Hoshi, do you prefer best of 1 or best of 3s?
Of course, BO3.
Best of 3s.
No one prefer BO1.
Yeah, a little bit intense, no? A little bit intense.
Yeah.
Okay, now as we all know, RRQ Hoshi making a comeback to the international stage is a very big thing. One of the biggest headlines for M6 this time around. Now, in your opinion, how big is this win for you guys, making it to the next stage?
It's really, really big because we are the first one who's qualified. We can learn about this meta on this tournament because right now everyone is keep picking Bruno, and we tried to counter but didn't work. Yeah, let's see.
Bruno is crazy.
Yes, he's crazy.
Okay, now Coach, maybe you can give us an inside scoop on what happened backstage after you guys lost game 1. How was the atmosphere like? How were your players? Were they all calm or were they a bit stressed? What did you tell them?
So after that game, I think the player is mostly positive. They feel like they can still fight against the Bruno, but I don't want to choose that. On this series because the Bruno is too crazy. And then for the second game and third game, I just called them to, yeah, we can just play normal game, no TP, no anything, just play our game. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
No recalls, respect the opponent, and ban the Bruno. I really like that coach is actually starting to put respect onto the Bruno despite the team saying, you know what, we can fight it, but coach is like, nah, let's not. Now, coach, now that you guys are already in the knockout stage, the next one who will possibly meet you guys could be Fnatic Onyx Philippines or BTK. Who do you think will go to knockouts first? BTK or Phenom?
Hopefully it's BTK
Why BTK?
because he's the one who's playing Freddy like us. So we can make jungle tank come back in this tournament.
Oh, coach, do you like utility jungle?
Of course, as a coach, I prefer to play jungle tank because we don't rely on the assassin mechanic.
Too much,
Yeah.
assassin too much. Okay, I really like that though. Coach, thank you so much for your insight. But before we wrap this up,
Bosan.
what do you want to say to the kingdom who comes every day to support you guys?
Buat kingdom-kingdom yang udah datang, ya dari Malai, dari Indo juga, ya makasih udah datang, udah support kita. Semoga nanti ya di knockout stage atau mungkin kalau di Axiata Arena kita bisa lebih banyak lagi ya.
All right. Now, coach said, thank you to all of the kingdom who comes here every day to support. It doesn't matter if you guys are Malaysian or Indonesian. And he hopes that even through the knockout stages, and if they do qualify for Axiata Arena, you guys and more of you guys will eventually come down to support RRQ Hoshi. Thank you very much, coach. Congratulations on the knockout stages. And with that, let us throw it back to the panel to break down what happened in this match.
Kingdom continue to come. I mean, it's great to see them advance to the next stage here, but they are also setting a couple of records of their own, now achieving the next fastest game here at the M6 World Championships by 3 seconds. The previous fastest was coming in from TLID versus Fnatic Onyx PH at 11 minutes 11 seconds. Now they achieve this in the next record, 11 minutes 8 seconds.
Ooh.
3-second difference here for that record so far.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, that game, I didn't realize that that game was that fast, that they broke the record. I think maybe it's because of all the action that was happening that it sort of flew over my head. That this was one of our more faster games.
Yeah, I think also it kind of brings true to the identity, right? Like people joke about them being a brawl server, they like to fight, this meta is good for them, but if they can make use of it, then it's always going to be a plus point, especially when we've established after game 1 that sure, Twisted Mind has some merits, but early to mid has always been RRQ, and they really ran away with it.
So let's break it down here, right? Because RRQ in that early mid-game, I mean, we saw lane dominance for one coming in from Skylar in particular, but I felt like Sutsujin, he was really creeping up, right? Early game, he's kind of there, but then once he finds his stride in the mid-game, first 2 items, whoa, he sped up so fast.
Yeah, RRQ just had a much better scaling center of the map. Oh, of course, it wouldn't have been the easiest game of the Kadita. Rins was punished at some times, and you could see that he couldn't really maximize what he could do in that hero. But once he found that space, that's when you really feel the, oh, Jushin just no way in hell does the same amount of damage as a Kadita and has that same impact. You want to punish that Kadita, but if RRQ is going to be able to find the initiation that they wanted, then it's good for them. And also, one of the biggest problems for Twisted Minds is the problem that Husky brought up earlier, and why earlier we mentioned it's important to also look at the pick of Dyren, how he's going to be able to impact the map. The glue was the perfect impact hero on the map.
Yeah, one of the best response, right? They saw a high loss Gatot, Gacha picked instantly. Doesn't matter which one goes into XP or roam, the glue solves the problem, and Twisted Minds will throw into a very rough spot. I just gotta quickly point out that Susojin has a 6k net worth lead over Hoda.
I'm telling you, he was
Whoa.
creeping up really, really fast. The rotations that he was making down towards the bottom side, even for if it's a split second, he is picking up camps and he's picking them up real fast. Now, as we look at the emblems, I do want to pose the question. The Kadita, is this the situational pick of a lifetime? Is this the direct counter specifically for Jushin, despite, because again, we saw a lot of good moments coming out from Rins, but there were 2 revitalizers coming in from Twisted Minds.
Yeah, as a counter to the Jushin, I wouldn't put it that way. I feel like RRQ were also somewhat limit testing with a lot of thought into the Kadita and what it can do against lineups that have 2 tanky frontliners. So I feel like this is a learning for all of us, where you could say that number 1, yeah, the kit of the Kadita will allow, if you're thinking about it in the team fighting perspective, the knockups onto the 2 main frontliners to increases the chances that Skylar can hit the marks and proc the crossbow of Tang. But then now you get to also see that, oh, it gets countered by the double revitalize, that it might not be the best bridge for a mid to the late game power spike because the early is very demanding for a Kadita mid.
There are a lot of technical elements for like RQ's thoughts coming into this. Of course, the draft on Twisted Minds might have influenced what RQ picked. As, for example, the glue and the Kadita. She also went for the pull yourself together, right? So you get flicker off cooldown way faster, which is also one of the big changes after they spat out the ability animation. Now you don't need Petrify anymore, which has always been a big weakness. I have the damage, I just cannot get to my target. You solve that problem right now in this current patch. That flicker rough waves onto Sano blew him up, and you can see that Twisted Minds have not experienced this before until now.
And you could also point out that for Twisted Minds, they have a strong 4v1 team fight. They have the Moskov going for the one split, and it's 4 of them just holding on for dear life. But that's the most that they can do, hold on for dear life. It's so demanding for Hoda to tell Hoda, Hoda, can you join us in team fights and be our main source of magic damage because the Jushin isn't really cutting it? And what did that do? Well, him losing to the jungle to this guy.
I mean, I felt like a lot of the pressure was just missing from the side of Twisted Minds, right? I felt like they couldn't find those big punishers like the Gaton, maybe finding the angle to actually taunt up the Cho as he was trying to go for a shot pull, maybe the Jikundo. I was looking for that because it's once again, when you are dealing with Jushin, you shouldn't have that much pressure.
Yeah, I think on top of that is also sometimes you have to understand when to call it quits, right? Like Renma mentioned that Hoda should talk about kind of going in. I personally feel like Hoda should have just said, guys, let's not fight. I cannot do this. But they kept doing the same thing, and Susujin now holds the highest GPM in M6.
Hey man, it's Twisted Minds. They're feeding into the Sutsujin fund right now.
Yeah,
1,051 GPM.
Like feed right into the machine, right? Like at one point, like after the second turtle, you should understand that okay, we cannot fight this. We need Hoda to get his items. Like Sano got solo killed 2 times. He needs his items, but Twisted Minds kept on going, and you just keep bleeding, right? You're not patching up your wounds. You eventually just bleed out to death.
Yeah, and in this series, I feel like it fully 100% confirms what you have to think of when you think of Susujin is this dude is a traditional carry. Whether it's with a melee type or, as you showed earlier, even though it lost, the Granger went insane in his hands in the jungle. This dude knows how to carry a team and be the main damage dealer for his team.
Yeah, even the journey for Susujin as a player is pretty interesting. When he joined Season 13 in MPIY under KGE, missed out on MSC, then when he went back to MPL ID, people were like, oh, it didn't work out in Malaysia, it's gonna go back to where he originally came from. Look where he is now, right? First team to advance to the knockout stage. If anyone out there is still doubting this little prince, I think it's time for you to change your mind.
I feel like Sutsujin reminds me of a fixed deposit, right? You invest a little bit into him, and then you kind of let him do his own thing for a little bit. Next thing you know, he's already made you 10x within less than a year.
Yeah, and this continues the trend for RQ Hoshi, wherein they are reaching the next stage first. They're one of the first, if not the very first team to make it to the MPL Indonesia playoffs in Season 14. They were the first team to qualify for the M6 World Championship after winning the upper bracket finals against Team Liquid ID, and now they're the first to qualify for the knockout stages.
It feels good. It feels, honestly, it feels really, really good that back in Malaysia, we're seeing that RQ are trying to make their names for themselves and establish that legacy, that long, long legacy of becoming and being that champions. Hopefully, history repeats itself to a certain point.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of like have the same kind of mirrored alternate version in MY. People were looking at Todak to make that return. I know Skylar even talked about wanting to meet Todak here, but at least for RQ Hoshi, at least one piece of that history is still moving forward into this dimension, or this era, which is RQ themselves. This past international championship, everyone has been looking at Fnatic Onyx Indonesia, they've been looking at Geek Fam, and people were just joking about, oh, RQ is never gonna make it that far after groups. But I think they've proven everyone wrong, and now it's more like how much of a kingdom can you rebuild on the world stage?
Yeah, and Coach Gatsky said something interesting to me. It was like, excuse me, he wants to bring back the old tank fighter meta?
Yeah?
And that's why he wants BTK to move forward, because they both play the fragrance. When his team shine because Susujin is a hell of a carry. Interesting.
It is interesting, and honestly, I'm very happy to see our very first team who advances to the knockout stage quickly, in the back, we already have one of our boys ready to go. Sutsujin, our MVP, to put up their logo first to advance to the very next stage. Our very first team to make it to the knockout stage.
Truly kings of kings. Viva RRQ, long live the kings of kings. Well, must be nice, right? Being the guy to place that logo, right? First in line, no one else has been there yet. Obviously, the second team would be either BTK or Fnac. You know, Cascu saying that they want to meet BTK, being interesting. But if they meet BTK, another interesting event would have presided them, which is them beating Fnac tomorrow. So yeah, a lot more to come.
Yeah, that's all.
It's okay, it's alright, it's alright.
Hey, look, it's anybody's game, and honestly, considering the amount of upsets that could happen, it might just be another 2-1 in somebody's favor. It's a little tough to say, but at the very least, the one thing that we can take away coming in from Kescute at the very least is that they get to chill, they get to watch the upcoming games. Let's pull up tomorrow's schedule. For those of you who are looking to come down to IOI City Wall to watch these games at the M6 World Championship live, then here it is. Oh my goodness. First match.
Oh, my heart.
Rora versus Ulhendar. Second match, Vamos versus CFU. Third match, TLID up against Team Spirit. And the final match, close out the day, BTK versus Fnatic Onyx PH.
You know what, gentlemen, with the first and the last series of tomorrow, I'm really hoping I am going to throw up because of joy, not of anything else, because tomorrow is going to be a tense day to be a Filipino MLBB fan.
Yeah, how's your heart to hear, Mar? I think even the first series, no one expected Olaf and Rora to be there. Like, they were both, I'm pretty sure, in all of our top 8 ranking.
Yes.
We're going to lose one of them tomorrow, guaranteed.
It's painful because, again, both of these teams, like, Ulhendar is one of those few dark horse teams that I personally love. I love seeing the way that they play and how they continue to grow. But then we are comparing them to a team like Rora, who so far has been struggling in these BO1s. Now coming into a best of 3, we're expecting both of these teams to be at full potential, full peak.
Yeah, it's Coach Master the Basic said, like, they're used to being in this scenario. They were knocked down to the lower bracket in the MPLPH playoffs before forcing Fnatic Onyx Philippines to 7 games in the grand finals. And they were on the brink of losing that grand finals when they were down 3-1. So they're very familiar with adversity. Meanwhile, for BTK FNOT, man, I feel like that's I'm seeing so many people saying easy 2-0 win for FNOT, but a part of me is thinking that tomorrow and the very last match I am gonna be tense. I see BTK, you know, being able to give FNOT a good fight.
For me, I don't want to look that far. I just want to look at CFU against Vamos. My heart, I can't take it. I thought I'm resilient coming into this. Like, I've seen enough failures for our local teams and people just dog on us for not making it that far. But now seeing SRG down 1-2 and Vamos tomorrow going up against CFU. Yeah, so if, look, that doesn't go well,
it could potentially not go well, but just to kind of brainwash you, pretend like it doesn't even happen. We have the top 5 plays of the day to hopefully reinvigorate your love for Mobile Legends, especially on the competitive stage. I mean, one of those plays, I definitely know which one is coming, but first, it's going to be Maycom Evolved against Keep Best Gaming.
I gotta say, Tracy put up a show today against Maycom Evolved, even though the games were pretty messy at times, but Tracy on that Khalid, that 4-man Raging Sandstorm you saw in a brawlish game, it was kind of like the tip of the spear that allowed KBG to keep on going.
And especially for LMU to say, wait a minute, let me just rest a little bit, chill out, and when I get boom, surprise, Marquinhos goes down with the 1v1 against the high-lows.
Yep, and the next play coming in from S2G Esports up against NIP Flash. This was honestly a really fun match to watch.
Yeah, it really was. Like, I think NIP Flash bringing out like kind of the classic Angel Ling and how they play. I gotta really give it to Vanix and Hades, right? When you talk about 2 main carries, reliable carries that deal damage, this was one of the solutions against not just a Bruno, but also a Farsa. I felt weird that they picked Farsa into a Ling, but I mean, NIP Flash made it work.
And of course, just in case you forgot, with Gideon's hand wave movements, SRG dropped to Falcon Esports earlier in the day because of this play. With Stormy flickering away, Dax using the Lord, as you mentioned earlier, Gideon by a hopscotch. Picking off Innocent, and then the follow-up coming in from that Tigreal. Crazy.
It still stings to watch. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I gotta give it to Dax. That was a crazy good play, but it hurts. But their final play coming in from Twisted Minds up against RRQ Hoshi here.
Yeah, that's the troll sort of like a backdoor flank with the portal. It wasn't the one that secured them the Lord, but it sure as heck gave them a team wipe against RQ Hoshi, right? This was sort of what worked the best for Twisted Minds. They just couldn't figure out how to keep it consistent in the series.
Oh, wait a minute. Was that was a Lord fight, yes?
Yeah, well, that was a Lord fight, a very important Lord fight here. And the one that you mentioned just now, our highlighted event, the flicker into the wave. Sano just disappeared. Like, even with Purify, just gone.
You just run, and you just disappear, right?
I didn't know you could make that noise.
I didn't know too. I was just testing it out. Apparently I can.
Can you do it again?
So I'm Sano, right?
Yeah.
Rinse flickers rough way, and I go.
That is so uncomfortably accurate, super uncomfortably accurate. And that's coming from an ex-swim coach, right? I've heard a lot of people semi-drown, and that's, I'll tell you, too accurate. Man, what a day it has been. And again, we're still not completely done with the third round of the Swiss stage so far. We still have another 4 more matches happening tomorrow, and we're going to see more teams, another team getting eliminated, another team advancing forward, and then a bunch in the middle who are just like, I just hope we win.
Yeah.
Hey, RQ fitting the best, right? I think either BTK or Fnatic will join us tomorrow. You only play half of the Swiss stage and you can chew until knockouts. That's great, so great.
We highlighted all the matches tomorrow except for one. Hey, global esports fans, Team Spirit versus Team Liquid and Mobile Legends Bang Bang in a World Championship. I never thought I'd say that.
Yep, it's going to be a very exciting time. With that being said, despite all the exciting games, it is currently 8-10 here in Malaysia. Thank you so much for watching.